Hello and welcome to Benno and Hamflett in Your House, a podcast reviewing WWE's iconic New Generation B shows in order from the bust back to the B. I'm Michael Hamflett.
And I'm Benno. And Michael, Attitude Era is here, or Attitude is here, or in some form, Attitude is kind of here. You know, we've got a bit of a logo to talk about today. We've got a bit of a sea change to talk about today in the second part of the Double Housekeeping, mate. But yeah, I feel like another piece has gone into place. And for those who are watching this one on YouTube and you saw the massive graphic, like finally our hard work and my war against poor Michael's OCD. As wrestling fans, we have big OCD when it comes to such things. And my use of the scratch logo merged with the old school logo, which is the one that you found, the old WWF magazine logo. The front part of that, maybe we see our first glimpse of it today, mate. So we're getting there, and it's all starting to fit nicely into place, kind of, even if it's going to take a few months.
Benno, I know what you're thinking. I'm not a real analyst. I'm just a podcaster. Like, this is
Was your jersey retired at What Culture State?
If it was, like, I'm sure Jim Ross would find a way to put it over instead of actually talking about what my real job is. Like, this is, as you say, like a big significant period of time. We've talked about how 1997 in so many ways has been significant. And it's quite fun to document how when everything changes, it always takes way longer than you think.
Yeah.
And I love that you've sort of taken that into like the sort of the production and the incredible visuals and all the stuff you do for this podcast. But honestly, as the first two-part housekeeping we've ever done, I never thought I would say, as we finally like reach into the grim bowels of the Attitude Era officially for the first time, this edition of housekeeping by comparisons feel like the light compared to the shade, doesn't it? I was like watching this, doing all the homework for the stuff that we're going to recap today. It was just nice to get back into the fictional world of pro wrestling instead of the angry adult rage of Bret and Shawn and everything in between.
Honestly, you still get some of that in the background. You get it in some of the signs that people are holding up, and some of the commentary in the lines that are thrown in and such as well. But like, you're right. This is like, say, we split it perfectly. Say, Montreal discussion is in the past. There's a little bit of Bret to talk about today, including in our first segment, but not a lot. You know, goodbye to the Hitman. We love you so. Maybe we'll do a love and tribute at the end. But like, that's exactly it, and it's my black spot, I suppose, when it comes to like memory of like this period. It's like in my head, it's the doldrums again somehow before we get to the glory and Tyson turns up and Austin beats Shawn and all of that stuff. Spoilers for a couple of housekeepings and in your houses down the road. But like, to me, like, it goes to like darkness, like we saw on that last housekeeping, where it's just like, fuck, where are all the baby faces? Fuck, like, where's all the stars gone? Oh shit, this In Your House coming up, the D-Generation X one, Meltzer talking about the buys for that, and Finn Martin running it down in Power Slam magazine. Like, it's for all of that comes to the fore. And then this lovely lot of homework that you've, lovingly put together for us today. It's like, no, there is a fucking gigantic babyface. His name is Stone Cold Steve Austin. He still exists. Remember Kane and the Undertaker? They're still around. There's even a couple of Benno and Hamflett favourites, which I think is the real thing that's popped me and you today, that brought us right back into this somewhat kayfabe world, although one of those favourites does try to muddy that as well. But yeah, it really is. It's the light compared to the shade on the last one. But it's a good, like I say, it's a good bump up point between, like, Montreal's done. Attitude is kind of here, and then we'll go off to the races now. We're moving forward, mate. I'm sorry to say it, but are we a New Generation podcast anymore? Are we an Attitude Era podcast at this point, mate? I think we're slowly, it's not a full Band-Aid rip, but it's coming off bit by bit, isn't it, right now?
No, like, we're shouting, we're swearing, the faint smell of jizz is starting to waft in. We are regrettably... the pages of the notes are starting to get stuck together. Like, we are regrettably tiptoeing ever closer towards that era. It's funny, man. I feel like I've brought this, like, this.
Speaking of me being 13, anyway. Raw magazine was.
I feel like if you watch any of the stuff we do on What Culture and maybe even on a recent Benno and Hamflett, it must be because this is in my brain space. It's occupying my mind palace at the moment. But I keep thinking of the scenario where it's Christmas Day 1997 at the Bischoff household, and like, he's got Bret. He's about to deliver the all-time WCW buy rate with Starrcade 1997 that hasn't happened yet. The kids have got the best toys they've ever had. Ted Turner's sent him the biggest Christmas bonus he's ever had. This for the most part is the state of the WWF. Nobody quite knows. He's like, well, they've made a little scratchy looking logo, but like, who cares about that? Like, it is incredible what you can't see without knowing what is just around the corner. Like, again, this Christmas, nothing can possibly go wrong for the Bischoff family. And then, like, 3 days later, Sting turns up to Starcade without a tan, and then all of a sudden everything just starts going like that.
That's literally the world, isn't it? You know, Bret's on the cusp of it. They can't go wrong. They've got Bret coming in. They've got all the stars. Even Rick Rude's over there. Fucking Davey and Jim are working their way over there at this point as well. There's only one way to go in the trajectory of World Championship Wrestling. But yeah, it's the final winter probably of them over on that side, as well as the summer that is to come on this side, which I'll call the babyface side for now, mate. But I maybe did turn a few times in real time.
Well, look, if in doubt to our kind of introduction there, we need to talk about something that we didn't took place on the Survivor Series 1997 on the last edition of Housekeeping, because we're going to start here with the big one, the historic one. The first ever WWF Attitude Era trailer. For those that don't remember, it aired just before Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels at the Survivor Series, which explains the appearance of a couple of people here. I'm going to read I've managed to write every line from every wrestler in this.
Amazing.
I'll read it. Shall I read this where I say who the wrestler is and what they say, or shall I just go line for line so that people can recite along because we all know it off by heart? Like, how would you prefer this? I'll go line for line. What I'll say is this includes, like, variously in different order, mix mash of Ahmed Johnson, The Undertaker, Bret Hart, Farouk, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, and Ken Shamrock, maybe, and that's everybody. And you can, as I've even said those names, you can visualize them in that warehouse set where they've all been filmed, especially for this occasion. They're not, with a couple of exceptions, they're not really in their wrestling gear. You see clips of them suffering very real injuries rather than kind of the worked ones and selling and all that kind of stuff. And here's the script over the top of these images in this warehouse. It's very dramatic, sweeping classical music in the background. I know what you're thinking. I'm not a real athlete. I'm just a wrestler. I'm 6'10", 328 pounds. I was a consensus All-American. I played football for the Dallas Cowboys. My jersey was retired at Florida State. I was voted greatest sports star in Germany 3 years in a row. Guess who that one was? When you step through those ropes, bad things do happen. Had over 200 stitches, had over a dozen concussions. I've broken bones. I've separated shoulders. Damn near broke my neck. I've blown out knees, but I still got up. This is who I am. This is what I do. I'm not really an athlete. This isn't real. Try this in my boots. And then obviously Bret gets screwed and they have to change that line literally 24 hours later. But there it is. The last word in the first commercial belongs to Bret the Hitman Hart. In his one and done for this campaign. It's almost like the very thing that Bret Hart is advertising is the thing that he didn't really want to be a part of anymore. The literal changing face of the World Wrestling Federation. It would be a little while before the logo replaces our beloved blue and yellow graphic in the bottom left-hand corner. It'll be longer still before the introduction, the one that, again, didn't last for a long time, but really stuck in my heart in over 100 countries, 7 different languages. And our favourite logo would even make it to WrestleMania one last time before it was well and truly replaced. But here we go with these trailers. We are off and running. Bruce Pritchard allegedly scraped it out, scribbled it out on a table as a bit of a doodle, and that was kind of how it took shape and took life. But the World Wrestling Federation, you always knew, was disappearing in the distance to be replaced by something that definitely reflected the show that we've been watching this year.
Massively, and it's so funny to watch because, as you mentioned there, Bret is just so out of place. It's like, again, we love navel gazing here when it comes to our lovely podcast, but like, the music that we use for the housekeepings, the all in together now song, not the rap one, that one, but like the Raw theme, like that. Even like when I pulled that out to use it for the podcast, and like you forget that's the theme we associate with Raw, or more particularly the Warzone part of Raw, and it's got like Diesel and Razor's voices in the background, and obviously it's got Bret signing offer at the end, which I think I'm going to keep as a tribute here on Benno and Hamflett. But like they look out of place there, and then this, it's like you say, it's full finished logo. It's like the scratch logo. It's the red insignia which we've borrowed. It says Attitude on the screen, but it's coming after Bret Hart's face, and it's just the two things just don't belong together at all, do they? And it's so funny though, because like you say, like this is obviously the first introduction of it. It's going to be a while before it truly takes over, but like it's almost like somebody designed this. Like, did they even know it was going to be the company logo? Did nobody watch this video for like 6 months? Did Vince, was he going back on his tapes like, oh fuck yeah, okay, actually no, that's better, let's use that going forward? It's almost like it's just been done in like this weird little silo, and then the rest of the company just carries on. It's really strange. I don't know what they were. Maybe it was just for that, I don't know, marketing campaign. I don't know if you can speak to that. You know, obviously we all remember these videos, and we all remember those voiceovers, Farouk particularly, and a couple of the other lads. But yeah, maybe it was just designed for that.
I think my sort of prevailing memory of this logo, because I was definitely at the age where as soon as I saw it for the first time, all I wanted to do was scribble it myself. So they'd made, if you ever spent time drawing the old block WWF logo, you'll have all made the same mistake, which is making like the F a little bit too narrow, or like not quite leaving a big enough gap when you're trying to draw it. The scratch logo was like instantly easy to copy and get, like, even if you did it wrong, you were doing it right, if you know what I mean, because you could afford to make a little mistake. But WWF found out to their peril, didn't they? As we'll eventually see when we get to this point in housekeeping. They take a couple of runs at how they present this on television. Like, when they first introduced it to the set underneath the Titantron, it's a mess. Like, it's not the logo that we see on this trailer. You're right to point out the one on the trailer is spot on. That is the absolute final Attitude font, all that sort of things. But then over the years, we'd see these like strange knockoff ones in the UK, where they weren't legally allowed to use it because of the WWF deal and with the World Wildlife Fund, obviously. And then, as I say, the one that springs to mind, it's jumping ahead, but it's when The Undertaker does one of his big return promos before WrestleMania, and you can see this, it is a scratch logo behind him, but it's not the scratch logo. You know, there's a few strange runs, and then WrestleMania, they kind of, I remember on the ring skirt is where it has it next to the WrestleMania logo, and I'm thinking, all right, okay, this means business now. And because obviously they got the F out in 2002, but that had a long run. The scratches, we knew it had a long run. And I remember it was kind of mind-blowing. Do you remember it was 2014 with the advent of the network that we first saw, you know, as of recording, the current WWF logo, which, just to blow your mind, is now 12 years old, by the way. That WWE logo is now 12 years old as we record here in 2026. Even older if you listen to this in the future. But for a while, it was just the network, wasn't it? So they would use that for the network, and that for, I think it was for old NXT. But the E scratch logo hung around a little bit longer. There was there's always a transition period. I remember the first time they brought out a belt with new logos on and things like that. The rollout of the new titles with the scratch logos on, even that took probably into 1999 before you were seeing them for the first time. And it was never as smooth as WWE would like to have you believe. But I also remember that not really mattering because everything was moving like along at such a pace. You kind of just accepted it. There was no time to stop and stare, really, was it? Because it was like, well, there's too many other things to pay attention to.
There's another show to run. There's another town to get to. Like, totally. Like, it does that. Like, it is. You're right in saying it's under WWF because it's the type of thing WCW would do, wouldn't he? Which, you know, I often bring up. You know, you watch Nitro 2 years into the war, and Vader's still on the screen, and it's still fucking Sting and all face painted a toga and red yellow because nobody there gives a fuck. I don't think it's necessarily that here that nobody gives a fuck. It's just, as you say, it takes time to put these in. But yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I was literally drawing. To be honest, I was better at drawing the old school WWF logo, just like I was good at drawing the NWO logo. Speaking of ones that got workshop, you know, at some point somebody realized, other than Hulk Hogan, who spray painted the fucking belt, that it's lowercase n, not uppercase n. Hulk. Come on, even now, when you type it out though, now don't you? It's so ingrained in us. It's always lowercase n, you know, uppercase W, lowercase o, like when you do it. But you can't trust the companies, can you, to get this stuff right? But that's kind of normal in the way it goes. And that was another old favorite when it came to drawing them. I enjoyed drawing the WCW logo as well, Michael, but I'll save that one. I don't want to offend you too much. Wu-Tang logo, that was another good one. I was good at drawing that on my school books, but not so much the Attitude Era one, so maybe it took a while for it to get into my head as well.
When you say you were good at drawing the WCW logo, does that mean that you at least could make that 1999 rebrand look good? Like, did you have a way with that little car bird shit logo they made, like with the C just cutting people on? You talk about people typing lowercase n, uppercase W, lowercase o. When people do that with WCW on forums, I wanted to like punch my screen. It looked awful, didn't it?
That was step too far. That was one where it was just like, come on, like they don't care. Why do you care? Like, stop it.
Yeah.
Like they're still putting stuff out. Like, remember that point when the WCW because again, we use the magazine logo for this for WWF, which is all timer, fantastic stuff, great find by you. But like WCW magazine was WCW/NWO magazine for like 3 years after it needed to be, or probably 2 because it didn't last that long as far as a company goes. But like, yeah, they were never hot on that stuff. I remember like my first this is not the slag the WCW section, but like when I first got excited by Nitro and NWO and Sting and buying the magazines and going, I'm going to get my hands on an NWO t-shirt, I can't wait, and leafing through and it's like fucking Powers of Pain and fucking Kevin Sullivan merch and Public Enemy merch and stuff like that, because the merch team is still 3 years behind. Like, it's the Renegade, he's the new hotness, surely he's the one that you want, he's the Lee Carvello's putting challenge of WCW wrestlers for the kids out there. So yeah, at least we're moving the more of a snail's place than them not wear down south.
Well, speaking of hot selling t-shirts, shall we get on to a guy who I really, really missed in the last edition of Housekeeping, save for the one cameo he made, dropping, was it Owen Hart? It was Farouk again, wasn't it, with a stunner? Stone Cold Steve Austin. Where we last left off properly with Steve Austin was him just making a complete nuisance of himself at Bad Blood. If you remember, he was kind of hassling all the commentators. He was just getting into trouble while Owen and Farouk were having the most boring match of all time for the Intercontinental title. And then Steve Austin struck Farouk in the head with the IC title so that Owen Hart could get the win, as the announcers and everybody else were confused. Has Steve Austin joined with Owen Hart? Like, why has he gifted him the title that he took? You know, he like worked so hard to take off him at SummerSlam. Who could possibly understand the motivation? Well, WWE would help us solve that puzzle. Thank you very much. Because it's the 6th of October edition of Monday Night Raw, where Austin's out. He gets right in there in Vince McMahon's face. And if you recall from what feels like now many, many moons ago, Steve Austin had a choice to make. There was an ultimatum issued by Vince McMahon in the Bad Blood Go Home about whether or not he was prepared to basically sign away his life and risk getting injured forever. Permanent paralysis is something similar to the Owen Hart power driver ever happened again, should he wish to return to the WWF, or alternately, maybe get fired. Vince wants to know, in the first instance, why he attacked Farouk. Austin doesn't really give an answer, but he does say he'll do whatever he wants when he wants, and that includes to the owner of the WWF. Vince is pretty rattled and a little bit wobbly, and he says, I see, all right, okay, we're going to do this the hard way, are we? Well, have you got your doctor's note? I asked you to bring that. Austin says no, because he's not even been to the doctor's, and Vince almost seems to be aware that's going to happen, and he says, well, I've got your reinstatement form, but it's with a condition that you can't sue the company if you ever get another injury. Frankly, Steve, I don't really want to consider the alternative, which of course is firing him. And the fans pick up on that, and they don't want to. If there was such a thing as a no chant in 1997, it would have been all these thousands of people begging for Steve Austin not to lose his job. Austin says he's happy to sign, but first of all, he wants something else. He wants Owen Hart. Vince gives Austin his word that he'll give him Owen Hart, and then Vince sticks the hand out for the handshake. Steve Austin knocks that away and says, I'll never shake your hand, and I'll never trust you. That's kind of heartbreaking, seeing how it all turned out, isn't it? But show me the contract, and then I'll sign. And by the way, I want it to be for my Intercontinental title. Before we can get on with the administration, Farouk interrupts. He's absolutely fuming, obviously, based on what happened at Bad Blood the night before. This is the first point where I feel like we have to point it out. Rocky Maivia, who we praised at Bad Blood, is already stealing focus. Every time Austin speaks, like Rock pulls faces at what Austin's saying. Every time Farouk's really angry, the Rock is kind of like pulling different faces because he's trying to share in Farouk's anger with it. He's not like undermining Farouk, but he's simply chewing scenery just stood next to him at this point. Farouk says he wants Austin, he wants the belt as well, and if it means kicking Steve Austin's ass, he's prepared to do it. Steve Austin hears all that, he listens intently, and then says, look, Farouk, this ain't a race thing, this ain't a colour thing, this is a me kicking your ass thing. He signs the contract. He welcomes the Nation of Domination down to fight him whenever he wants. The music hits. He kind of pushes Vince around a little bit after he signed the contract. And then he just goes out to the announce table, seals Jerry the King Lawler's crown and boots it into the crowd. And Jerry Lawler can do nothing about it because Steve Austin very clearly here has entered walking on water territory.
It's amazing. Like, it's not the only word I'm going to say it today. Magic. Like, Austin being out there chewing scenery. It's like, yeah. Like you say, well, we are pre-Survivor Series A, and you got Bret Bret and Shawn, being miserable in the other segments on the show. Like, it is just a completely different atmosphere when he's out there, and like it's all over nothing too. This is prime, like, as we often talk about, like TV drama, isn't it? With, oh, is he going to sign the bit of paper? Oh, but it's your bit of paper. You're going to have to get another bit of paper, and then we can talk about signing the paper. It's literally meaning it's the complete MacGuffin, because really, it's also like it was all built up to it. Like you say, it feels like a historic memory now over Vince. Like, oh, you've drove me to it now, Austin. Now what I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to have to make you sign a bit of paper that says that it's not my fault if you're wrestling. It's like, that doesn't seem like a big punishment for Steve for all the shit that he's been putting you through, but it's a hook, isn't it, for TV, and it gives you a chance, even in these early, still a babyface Vince McMahon stages, to see Vince and Austin play off each other, and really Austin play off nothing, and Austin play off the crowd, and Austin play off, like you say, the nation on the screen as well. It's just, it's an excuse to get Steve on TV. It's an excuse to create some fake drama, but it works, doesn't it? It pulls you in, such as the magnetism of the man in trying to sell how important this is.
It's a great point, actually, because you're right. The piece of paper, and there's another piece of paper coming the next segment a week later. It's almost a company, whether they mean to do this or not. They're almost stress testing the power of the Steve Austin character, aren't they? It's like that kind of that cliche job interview thing where somebody says, "All right, here's this pen. Sell me this pen," and that's like how you tell if somebody's a good salesman. Like, it's as if Austin's turned up to work 5 minutes before going on stage, and they're like, "We haven't got anything for you. Can you pretend this piece of paper means something?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can get 10 minutes out of that. Watch this." And then he does it. And he does it to such an extent they realize he's very clearly the guy to go with. And with that confidence, he just gets even better the following week, because it's just one more. He's out there with the actual boss as well. It's not like Vince is watching from commentary or Vince is watching back in Gorilla. He's bouncing off him as a performer. So Austin must be stood there thinking, he can feel this too. Like, I can't miss it. I can't miss. Like, he can feel this. I can feel. We know what's going on here. And what I quite like as well, we're going to get into this more after DX in your house. But like, we've talked a lot over the last 2 years really in terms of the timeline. Diesel in 1995, but especially Jim Ross in 1996. But we've talked about the evolution of Vince McMahon, the boss, the administrator. And I think this might be my favourite little chapter of it yet, in a way, because he's still got the Roy's War commentary clothes on. So there can be you're under no illusion what his primary purpose is. It's to call the action. It's to be Vince McMahon, the commentator, the host that has greeted you into the Fed all these years. But like, they really push the fact that Austin could deck him. And after all of these years, the fans would probably still cheer Austin if he did it. And that must have been a bit of an awakening for Vince McMahon, especially. Vince is probably thinking, it's funny because you've stunned Sergeant Slaughter. It's funny because you've stunned Jim Ross. But they'd be horrified if you stunned me, Steve. And then increasingly, week after week after week, there's proof. No, they'd love it just as much. However much credit you thought you had in the bank with this audience as the trusted voices of the World Wrestling Federation, if your newest star drops you on your head, they're backing him, they're not backing you, and that's got to go in there.
Massively. And it's also as well, like, it's, you got Lawler and commentary, more so in the next segment, but in this one too, almost encouraging Steve to do it as well. He's playing the crowd because we're at home going, go on, it's him. Not even really, I imagine, I'm not really caring whether Vince is the owner or not, even though, Austin is outright saying it here. But you're right, I think that switch, and also that, to allude to what you said before, like, Vince is there in the ring, like, how many times it's something that we had to deal with as wrestling fans post-Attitude Era, where, like, somebody was getting over and Vince will be in denial, or the company as a whole be in denial. They don't go with him. There's a multitude of examples like that. Like, I love that, like you say, Vince is right there. Like, I think Austin became undeniable months ago, but like here in this period, like, it's very, very, very clear he's undeniable. Like, Vince isn't that deaf, dumb, and blind, is he? Like, he knows this is where the money's going to be. And I guess, maybe those like gears are turning as well about where the other side of the money might be is, him as the other side of it.
Well, indeed, because I don't necessarily think it's Owen Hart. To that point where we're in the ring a week later, and Austin, this is it. Vince has got the contract in his hand. Austin's going to be reinstated at the Survivor Series. Austin makes Vince sign it first because he doesn't trust him. For the first time ever, he says, he asks the crowd, "Should I trust Vince? Should I trust Vince McMahon?" And they all say no. And he doesn't quite yet flesh the catchphrase out, but there'll be more on that coming in the next couple of weeks. Vince puts his glasses on, puts his cheaters on to sign the paperwork, and as you say, Jerry Lawler rips the piss out of that. Vince signs it. Austin's got a little grin on his face. He says, look, we've made a deal. And Vince is like, well, you haven't signed yet. And as you say, Austin kind of teases signing the piece of paper as if he's not going to. He's actually getting what he wants. He wants to fight Owen. Sorry, I will say the guy's name because you probably don't even hear it in the segment. He's going to fight Owen Hart at the Survivor Series. He stands on the post to sign it, just to get a massive pop of the visual of him signing the contract so that Vince McMahon can do the big carnival barker that Stone Cold Steve Austin will return at the Survivor Series. Austin won't let him know. He says he's got one thing left to do. And then he just rears back as if he's going to boot him in the chest and hit him with the stunner. And he says, shake my damn hand. And then Vince is sort of the one on the back foot all of a sudden. He's like, I don't know. And he shakes hand. And then Austin just drags him in close and says, just like that. And he clicks his fingers. I could have knocked your lights out. And Vince he's a bit quivery here, and he's well, thanks, Steve. I got to know why bad blood. Explain it to me. And Austin, for the thickest remaining people in row Z, basically just says, Owen's got the belt, but the belt and Owen are my business. It's nothing to do with the Nation of Domination. That should have been clear to all of you. Farouk, though, still pissed off, and rightfully so in this case. All of the Farouk and the Nation come out. He's still furious about it, and he's saying, look, I don't care about your situation. I don't care about your injuries. You've sacrificed your ass to the Nation of Domination. Austin says all he heard was a load of bluster, doesn't understand a word Farouk just said, so I'll challenge any one of you right now. He stops just short of calling them sons of bitches, and then it kind of goes, I'll take on any one of these people right now, and then it's Rock who runs to the ring to take the challenge. Wham! Stone Cold hits the stunner on Rocky Maivia, the first of many. Austin then slides out into the crowd, which I think is notable because we've seen this as a theme recently. When Steve slides away, it never looks like he's running in fear because he's just like moving at the crowd to sort of like dodge a situation where there's a numbers game working against him. He looks like the smart one, like the Nation send like the veiled threats. We'll get you next time, Steve. We'll get you next time. He looks like the smart one, but crucially, what is he doing here? He's embracing the crowd. Like WWE have copied WCW's homework here with how effective that was seeing Diamond Dallas Page. Like the first time you would see him with the crowd like that. And oh my God, the background is the backing of these people. Increasingly, they've started doing that with Steve Austin and Clocked. This is every little baby step to like forcing this character effectively. You know, every now and then, Steve, you've got to do what a traditional goodie does. Like, and you can imagine the fights they're having in the backstage area about how, and I love that. I love that Steve would fight for that bit of the character. And I love week on week, he gives the audience just a teeny tiny bit more. We're going to get to one in a few weeks. I was practically crying and screaming at home watching, but it's great to watch Austin just relent that little bit more every week and allow the crowd. He like opened his arms just a tiny bit. All right, in you come just a little bit. That's enough. And then and he keeps that push and pull is electrifying.
Yeah, he literally, like you say there, like when he's, polling the audience, he's like, not that I really care what anyone thinks. Yeah. Like he says that a couple of times, doesn't he? It's like, he's just making sure he's dotting those I's and getting that in there as well. But yeah, it is. The Vincent and Austin stuff was magic. I've got to give it like just a nod to The Rock, like the first, you say it's the first, but the first of many world-class stunners, because it's just great. The way he goes into the ring, he's like head first, straight into the stunner and then bounces off. It's almost comedic, but not as comedic as some of the later ones would be. Steals the scene like he does stood behind Farouk. And another note I wanted to make as well, on the two segments, I suppose, as a whole, while we have got fucking the horrible, miserable stuff going on with Bret and Shawn and the Nation, on the other side of the housekeeping where we were talking about it, Austin's a progressive one. He's like, it's not about white or black. It's not about racism. I just want to beat you up, And it's like, even that, like, it's crass to use it for that, but like, he's actually the righteous one out of everyone. Mm-hmm. Like, he is the babyface. It's those little kind of touches in there as well, and yeah, it just works so well, and it's great. Like, it's just great people to play off, and obviously, Farouk is the main part of it right now, but he's doing a job.
We have something we've already recapped, which is Austin drilling Farouk with the stunner, the next member of the Nation to get it. That was obviously as part of the thing that's going on with Owen Hart. But that takes us to the 27th of October and a development. This man, like every time we think he's out, he pulls himself back in, because Owen Hart is defending the Intercontinental title on the 27th of October edition of Monday Night Raw against Ahmed Johnson, right? Will join this match towards the, I'll use the word loosely, climax, because Ahmed is working half speed, bless him. He's got 50 knee pads on, they're all different colours. his trunks, like at this point, have gone, like those red ones have gone so far up his arse that like you can't really make out the outline of them anymore. He's got a taped nose. He's got a bandaged hand. He looks in such a state, the poor sod. And then just to make matters worse, Steve Austin slides in and hits him with the stunner, and Ahmed wins by DQ. Like, Austin's arms go up. It's nothing personal, but Owen retains, as he said he would. Austin slides back out again. And we get the Raw closing promo by Ahmed Johnson as the camera finds him in the locker room, all banged up. And Ahmed sort of like looks up, dead eyes at the camera. He says, Steve Austin, 316. You've entered the zone. My zone. My zone is like an end zone. Once you're in there, you score. So you just scored on me. So it's my turn to score on you. So Monday night, look out, because I'm coming to get you. And like it's pretty chilling, right? But like, what's it all about?
Because it's like, I was going to mention it before, the Attitude promo, like that's basically like Warzone the game looks like that. This is Warzone the game, if anyone's played it before, with the unintelligible, even I'm doing it, Johnson promos. But you know what, despite all that, Michael, like genuinely, perfect memory of this when it happened. Mm-hmm. Steve was my guy still at this point. All the knobheads in school hadn't taken over yet the next year, and wanting Steve to take over the world. I remember, like, I was still young enough to be terrified. I was still young enough to be like, oh, fuck, Ahmed's going to take this whole thing off the rails. Can't get past Ahmed, especially after that promo. Like, I was genuinely scared, and I loved Ahmed a year earlier. Still love him to this day, obviously, but, like, it's genuinely chilling. Each tin, again, it makes no sense. It's Ultimate Warrior style, isn't it? But it fucking, like, it's effective, isn't it? And it's so frustrating Ahmed's in this place, isn't it? We're obviously going to talk about him a bit more, but, like, he's turned face, he's turned heel, he's back to face again. But, like, in this environment, obviously, the fans are cheering when Austin's fucking stunning him as well, so it's not a great lot in life. But he can still claw it back with, like, this is one of my most, this and the Pillman ending we talked about of Raw are, like, two of my, like, iconic credits come up end of Raw moments. Like, I just think, fucking hell, I can't wait to see what happens. What's Ahmed going to do to Steve?
It's like, it's the recurring theme of these episodes of Benno and Hamflett dating back about 2 years now. Number one, Ahmed, stop getting injured. Number two, Ahmed, stop convincing me they should put the fucking belt on you. Like, that's just the thing keeps looping, doesn't it? Like, every single time. Like, you just mad. Well, here we go. We're going to the 3rd November again. Like, for anybody that's not aware, everything I'm describing, by the way, is a build to Steve Austin versus Owen Hart. Just whatever, because it's an absolutely monstrous, the biggest yet reaction for Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's the debut of the Other Side Jackass t-shirt with the face on the back that you remember from the t-shirt that he wore when he got arrested in Madison Square Garden. This is our pop. We have been waiting for that moment when it turns over from Austin started getting cheered to that glass smashing and everybody getting exactly what they bought a ticket for. And here we are. Like, this is the stuff. Mega star reaction. Vince McMahon's still the interviewer guy, so he gives him the intro. Jim Ross on commentary does a pretty good job of doing all the go-home lines for Austin's return from injury, his quest to regain the Intercontinental title. That's going to happen at Survivor Series, blah, blah, blah. Vince is there. Mr. Austin, you finally got your rematch. Austin has a couple of lines, finally, for wrestling Owen Hart, where he's like, do you think when I was sat at the house pissed off waiting for revenge, November 9th isn't a wrestling match, it's payback. And that is the damnedest bottom line I've bottom lined. Like, he's just all business when he's talking about it, because he wants rid of it, doesn't he? Yeah. Like, he's wanting kind of Owen to be done and dusted, but he has to make it clear, I am finishing this, mate, and I am not happy that we're even in this position.
Yeah, you can tell. Like, honestly, I think he gets emotional because he just doesn't like talking about it. He doesn't. When he says things like, I'm sat on my couch drinking beer for 3 months, thinking my career was over after. And I'll avoid the time joke, 8 long years. But it's an 8 long year career. But like, you can see it's coming out in his eyes. It's coming out in his emotions. Like, he's not. Like, he doesn't want to. It's one of those things where you don't want to address like the thing that's making you upset or the thing that's almost fucking ruined your career. Like, it's like in a kayfabe way he's not addressing Owen, but I think in a reality way he almost just doesn't want to talk about the cunt.
He doesn't want to acknowledge him, does he? He's worked himself into a shoot, by the way, because he's like, I sat at the house for 3 months wondering if I was going to wrestle again. No, you didn't, Steve. You were on Raw 24 hours later, mate, you fucking lunatic. Like, but like, But you buy that version of him because obviously that's what, like a Monday night and a Tuesday night. Then there's every other day, and then there's visits to the doctors. In his mind, because he's not on the road 6 nights a week and getting pops and selling 316 shirts, he's thinking like, that's his version of it. But you're right. That's there's a fire in the eyes, but it's the wrong kind of fire, isn't it? He's got the spark when he's feuding with the Nation. The spark isn't there for the feud. That's conducting business, that isn't it? Let's get that one squared away so we can get onto something new. Sure. Vince actually notes, this is obviously, if you recall in the prior housekeeping, this is the week where they were talking about the Hart Foundation all being at home in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and obviously Owen Hart is included in that. Vince says, over the last sort of several months, you've ticked all the Hart family members off. You've also ticked off the Nation. You've also ticked off Ahmed Johnson. And Austin says, I've ticked everybody off, have I? Well, everybody else has pissed me off. He says, it's nothing to do with the Nation. It's nothing to do with Ahmed. All I'm doing is protecting that Intercontinental title so I can get it back. The Nation of Domination, Ahmed Johnson, we're just in the wrong place, wrong time. But if anybody sticks their nose in my business, sticks their head in there with Stone Cold Steve Austin, I'm going to kick their ass. And Ahmed Johnson's music hits. He is once again in street clothes that only Ahmed Johnson could wear. This like red lycra top that is somehow tighter than wrestling gear. He's wearing stone-washed baggy jeans. He's got like a 4-foot fanny pack and a phone in a gun holster clipped onto the side of his belt. Presumably because, like, at this point, he was getting ribbed so often, the boys probably were... I bet he's just bought that phone that day, and he's brought it to TV, and already the wrestlers are plotting how they're going to nick it and, like, throw it off a bridge or something. So they're like, right, I'm going to put it in a gun holster then. And, like... The refs, he's got cowboy boots on as well. The refs rush the ring to stop Ahmed and Steve just getting at each other, like try and keep them separate straight away. Vince McMahon's trying to like hold a microphone between them both. He's bollocking the security to keep them apart. He says, Ahmed, you must be upset. You must be upset. Ahmed tries to speak. Sign of the times. He cannot get a word in for Austin chants. Austin. Like, no matter how much Benno and Hamflett might push for it, the game has changed and the game is up for Ahmed Johnson here. He says, last week, Steve, I respected you. But then you crossed, he does it again, but then you crossed into my end zone, and now I'm going to kick your ass. There's just boos. There's like, they are raining down boos on Ahmed. They've picked a side.
The crowd going, the zone's mine, not yours, fuck off. Stop stealing my shit.
They've picked a side, and it's not Austin's. It's not Ahmed, sorry. Ahmed says he's been on his own since he was a kid. Going down that sympathy route, people reply with Ahmed sucks. He then screams. He says, shouldn't have backstabbed me. And today, why don't we put our gear on and fight? I love that he said today, not tonight. That's so Ahmed, isn't it? Let's fight today. Austin, and this was the one. Does anyone want to see Ahmed Johnson get his ass whipped? Give me a hell yeah. And then you get the hell yeah. And he's like, not that I need anyone's opinion. Never even fancied you anyway. But he agrees to the fight. And what I loved about this, by the way, crowds going nuts. They can't believe they're getting Ahmed Johnson versus Steve Austin tonight on Raw. Spoiler, get used to advertising Steve Austin matches you're not going to see. That's the next 15 episodes of housekeeping. But, there's a great sign that you can't miss as, this carnage is going on. And I love it. It's just big white poster board with the text on. Austin's Army rules. Hulkamania is dead. You can't miss this sign front and center. And it just feels really apt. Doesn't it? The guy is here. The hunt for the Hulk Hogan is over. It's this guy.
Everything about it, even down to, you say, what Steve's wearing there with, that version of, the iconic design that ends up on the front, but it's on the back. Each every week now, different Austin 316 hat, different T-shirt. We're starting to get into that. The monster pops, as you mentioned, absolutely, we're in that world now as well. And it's in one way, I want to sell this, like we say, and make this. I mean, if we could time travel back in time, this is your WrestleMania main event, obviously, isn't it? Based on the heat here and based on who he's in there with, this is Hogan Warrior type stuff. Let's go. But very clearly, it's not as well, because I know we say it all the time how quickly things are changing. But it's 1997. It was just 1996. Ahmed Johnson and his whole gimmick was, obviously we had the People's Posse and stuff like that. It was all about the people. And he has to cut a promo and he's I've always fought on my own. I don't need the people on my back. It's I feel sad for him in that moment because I actually think the storytelling he does within the promo is actually some of his best work too. All of his motivation is just sad. It's out of like necessity, because like there isn't a chance this crowd's going 50-50 with him and Steve, is there? But like 6 months earlier, maybe 9 months earlier, like there'll be a better bet for it, because he was getting those reactions, wasn't he? But such like just how quickly the world has changed, it's very clear.
He's like a jigsaw puzzle piece. And it's one of those pieces in the jigsaw where, like, the picture is really clear. Like, it's a jigsaw puzzle, and the picture on the train on the piece is like really wonderfully clear. But then you're trying to wedge it into the actual puzzle, and the puzzle is of a boat. Like, and you're like, hang on a second. Like, wait a minute, this was a train last year, wasn't it? Like, everything you're trying to wedge Ahmed Johnson into no longer fits. Like, to this point, the Ahmed Austin match doesn't happen. Obviously, this is the go home. Survivor Series go home Raw, and Austin's going to make his big return against Owen Hart, but he can't be made to look cowardly, which is why they've booked this match ostensibly. Ahmed gets taken out of the match by a certain big red machine that we will get to shortly, but in the meantime that leaves Steve Austin without an opponent, so he calls out anybody in the locker room. Austin notes, actually, after Kane's done the damage to Ahmed, that he got off light, because Austin would have opened a can. Austin would have opened a can of whoop-ass on Ahmed Johnson and served it to him on a spoon. He says, anybody, literally anybody, come out from the dressing room, because I want to raise some hell. The Nation of Domination's music hits, and this time it's Rocky Maivia who actually steps forward. They're walking down the ramp, and like he's walking side by side with Farouk, and all you can hear, to the contrast of the Austin pop, are Rocky sucks boos. Like almost like you might have your two big guys here. Maybe don't worry about Bret and Shawn in a dick measuring contest when the money guys might be stood right here. Rock is already kind of like doing all the spitting gestures, he kind of pulls the arm away from the fans now. It is week by week you watch this guy develop. The rate is absolutely frightening. But Farouk puts the arm out, not tonight, Rocky, and it's Karma who slides into the ring. As he slides in, the Legion of Doom come out to fight the Nation as part of the build to the big Survivor Series match between the two warring sides. And in that moment, Steve Austin, once again, with that, as you say, with the Rock before, the quick fire stunner, this time on Karma. He hits the stunner. He goes to leave as the Nation fight with the Legion of Doom in a scene that I thought mirrored, how DX just walked around the fight and looked cooler for not getting involved. I thought they kind of repeated that trick with Austin. He'd done his damage. He wasn't being a coward. He'd followed through. He'd hit his stunner, and then he just walks away laughing to himself as the Nation and LOD batter each other while his music plays. What a baller. And worth noting as well that Hawk from the Legion of Doom, I don't know if you clocked this, was in a WrestleMania 8 t-shirt. Like, wrestlers in their free gear, right? That must have been in his his drawer or in his wash bag, just going up and down the road. You know those t-shirts that just go on holiday with you never wear? How long has that t-shirt been in Hawk's bag? He's like, I need this for a brawl, that'll do. He's got friggin' Hogan, Flair, Savage, and Sid on the front of his t-shirt on a 1997 edition of Raw.
It's so it's funny because it's it's so him also, and it's so those wrestlers, but like it is like during the broadcast here that they're trying to promote, aren't they? Coming up, that they've got a re-showing of Survivor Series 91, is it, with Undertaker and Hogan, and Vince is having to sell it through gritted teeth, and there's this knobhead in his old t-shirt. It's like proper Jim the Anvil Neidhart in his WWE 2K13 trackie that he got that year and just wore for another decade. Yeah. That's the wrestlers for you. Free shit.
So that was that Austin stunner on Karma Mustafa. Again, to illustrate a point I hope we've hit you over the head hard enough with, was the go-home angle for Steve Austin versus Owen Hart at the Survivor Series. So it should surprise absolutely nobody that on the 10th of November, the night after Gang Rules Survivor Series, Michael Cole, not Vince McMahon, he was, of course, nursing his black eye from the fight with Bret Hart, Michael Cole introduces Stone Cold Steve Austin, who gets a monster pop. And monster pop, there are 316 signs everywhere. And I need you, Benno, to properly take this into account. This is the 10th of November, right, in Ottawa, Canada. Yeah. Canadian Stampede was the end of July. This man, they would have happily tried to shoot or stab him as he was carted off to prison in July. How much does this tell you? They have been itching to cheer him, itching. He has defeated Owen Hart 24 hours earlier, and he walks out in Canada to get this reaction. They've been dying to receive Steve Austin as a babyface in Canada.
Again, this is another one I distinctly remember having that reaction even as a kid. Like, just being like, "Oh, he's really the guy now. He's really like they've clearly just wanted to. They've been playing along this entire time, pretending they love Canada, and now they've got permission. They're allowed to love Austin. But it's funny how history repeats, isn't it? 'Cause the same thing happens post invasion when after he's left the WCW side and he's back on. It's like as soon as that's over, it's like, oh, we can cheer Steve again. Brilliant, and everyone's back into it again. It's just like no one really wants to boo him, do they? But they played along as much as ever. But it really stuck out to me. I was like, it almost like it was almost like kayfabe breaker. I was like, oh, they don't really care. Oh, right, they don't really hate him. Oh, right, they just wanted to cheer him like we all do. But I guess we had that experience, didn't we, at one night only.
The Canadian fans are moving on. And and so is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Michael Cole asks him, you must be pleased that he got paid back. And he says, I'm not really concerned about payback. Stone Cold Steve Austin's back, sat on my couch, walked back in, took my belt back because I'm the toughest son of a bitch and can't nobody stop me. So that's the end of that. And then Michael Cole says, fair enough. Stone Cold, you've always been a marked man. That phrase is going to matter a lot in the next few months. But before he can finish that thought, here comes the Nation of Domination. Only it's not the Nation in full. It's simply Rocky Maivia. JR calls him The Rock on commentary for the first time. So I guess we can too. The Rock tells the fans to shut up. He tells the fans that when he was IC champion, he was the best damn Intercontinental champion there ever was. Come hell or high water, I'm going to be wearing my IC title. And if you've got enough manhood to accept my challenge, Steve, then your bottom line will read, has been. Compliments of The Rock. There's an enormous Rocky Sucks chant. How dare this guy interrupt the title celebration of Stone Cold Steve Austin? Austin says, and again, I love Bruce Pritchard, the best story he ever told in that podcast before it became just part of his Grift network, was to tell that little tiny story, 1998, middle of the summer, Steve Austin, just casually mention it to anyone who wants to listen. That Rock, man, he's never going to get overdoing nursery rhymes. Just as an insight into the paranoia of what it is to be the top star. I would even argue here in November 1997, Austin's got a bit of that. He says, I see you up there, stood, all jacked up. And it's that first sort of like, he's big. Rock's big. Like, he's not taking my spot now, but he's big. I see you there, stood there all jacked up. I got a couple of challenges for you. I challenge you to get a decent haircut. And seeing as you're a piece of crap, I challenge you to flush yourself down the commode. Big pop for that. Not even a good line, but Steve Austin can do and say anything he wants at this point. And to that point, he says, and by the way, Rock, you don't suck because these people say you suck. You suck because Stone Cold said so. Rock's facials are incredible, just the eyes bulging out of his head. Yeah. But Austin accepts the challenge. At some point, the match is happening down the line.
I can't help but look at Rock in like this moment, like you say there, is like, because it's you forget because he was pushed down our throats as a babyface, and it's very apparent that that's what they're doing. When he's a heel, you can hide it more, can't you? But that's just to us marks who are watching it. The boys in the back are treating him exactly the same, aren't they? Like, Austin's treating him exactly the same. Who's this fucking scrub who debuted at fucking Survivor Series 96 and he's waking me? Like, what are we fucking doing here? And Rock, despite all that pressure, despite everything, and I think it's a very deliberate choice to have him stood out there on the stage on his own. Like, you can just see it's happening. You can see everything that they thought was there the year before is all genuinely there, and he's swimming. He is. He should be drowning here, but he's pulling it out. And like you say, it's a bit more wacky. It's a bit more broad. It's a bit more, your first creator wrestler heel promo type stuff. But there's very clearly something there, and I think, like you say, just him being stood there on his own, you just look at him and go, yeah, that's a guy. That is absolutely a guy. In a way that like I say, he's been bustling from the seams, stood behind Ron Simmons, but like at this point, it's like, oh no, I get it now. I get why they've done that little bit of a switch, and it's no longer a Farouk Austin feud. It's a Rock Austin feud, and like they're absolutely right.
It's super telling, isn't it, that like at this time of year, typically when it's very obvious who the baby faces that the WWE are going to go with in WrestleMania season, whether they win the Rumble or they're just going to be the headline guy, there's always this weird little period in the calendar where they've got to be given somebody to wrestle. So it's almost like it's like not a monster of the week, but in the same way the Undertaker would just get a monster of the week, you need a heel of the week for the babyface. The one that springs to mind is, remember Cody Rhodes having a random feud with Shinsuke Nakamura around this time of year when they were just trying to put something in the way of like the Royal Rumble. Like The Rock could, like, to Austin, to anybody in the locker room, it's like, oh, they're just giving Austin a heel just to tie him over till Christmas. We just need to get
not even the top guy in the stable.
Yeah, exactly. And as you say, like he simply won't allow this opportunity to pass him by and spot a big one here. And it's going to continue because 17th of November, a nice a bit of foreshadowing of something epic to come. It's Dude Love versus Rocky Maivia, and we've had that match before. If anything, we could argue this was the match that got the rock bottom over at Cold Day in Hell when Rocky Maivia drilled Mankind on the ramp when Mankind was the one getting cheers. But they're back at it again, and then Austin arrives. Sorry, no, I've jumped ahead. I do apologise. We've got a prior segment before that because D'Lo has got to get his stunner first. Yes. Austin arrives, gets a massive reaction as Jim Ross confirms that the match with The Rock is going to take place in your house. But Austin says, "Yeah, like if anybody wants me to whip Rocky Myers, asking me a hell yeah, get his hell yeah." Doesn't bollock the crowd for that anymore. So he calls The Rock out to fight right now. But Rock stands on the stage, and in a total reversal of a few weeks ago, when he was the one prepared to go and have the fight, he now says, can you go deal with that? And he sends the other, now they look like his underlings. He sends them to the ring to go in and get Austin. In slides D'Lo. He gets hit with the stunner straight away, but in the chaos of all of that, D'Lo's the one that's had his stunner. The Rock slides through the ring, steals the physical Intercontinental title, and leave as the Nation go in to try and make the save. The announcers comment that it's all just been a setup for Rocky to steal the belt. Rocky holds the belt up on the ramp while Austin flips him off, looks really annoyed at ringside. He's got his baseball cap and he throws it at JR. He then takes Jim Ross's headset and he says, he flubs a line to Steve Austin and he says, "You can damn well bet that I'll get my belt back before it even makes it to airport security." It's another one of those, please don't turn over to Nitro, there is more Steve Austin to come moments where they're like, stay tuned, there's more Austin. And that's when we get later on in the night Rocky Maivia versus Dude Love, because it ends in a 4-on-1 attack on poor Dude, which finds The Rock actually trying to use the Intercontinental title belt on Dude Love, and Steve Austin will not stand for that. Yet again, another little thing, it's nice when he saves his mate. We know there's him and Dude are cool, and he comes and he saves Dude Love. It's not to help Dude, it's just to get my belt back. But The Rock once again bails while Austin and Dude fight off. They win the numbers game despite the Nation having a 3-on-2 advantage. There's yet another stunner for D'Lo Brown, which feels like a cute bit when he's going through them one at a time. He gets D'Lo twice in the same night. The Rock doesn't give a shit about the Nation. He stands on the ramp and he holds the belt up. I'm the champ. So again, we're seeing that little divide and that little pecking order form. It's it's another, the two more to come are the things I'm going to be crying soon and slap my arm for how great these next two segments are. But it's yet another week where they've just knocked this out of the park.
It's template, isn't it? It's funny because we're watching it now all these years later, but it's template, Attitude Era, Russo bucket, isn't it? The heel's going to steal the belt. But there's always something about it. It's perfect for this particular Rock character, isn't it? It's perfect for him you get to see him with the belt as a heel, despite him not being the champion. It's great, not wrestling match stuff, just great wrestling bullshit, isn't it? The stuff around the edges that they're perfecting now as we go into lots more of this to come.
And I would argue as well, especially with the two segments we're about to have, I would argue there's absolutely no problem with using pro wrestling television for segments like that one and the ones we're about to recap. The problem is when you dedicate this TV time to stars that aren't Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, because I think that's what fooled Vince McMahon and other people at his top table. I think that fooled them into thinking everybody can occupy and swallow up this much time, but these two are just forces of nature. You could have these last on screen for longer than they do and you wouldn't get bored, but then they think to themselves, oh, you can do that with everybody, and then we would learn for pretty much 20 years that you can't.
Imagine if they'd done the reverse and it was Farouk in the role and it was Rock was the henchman and Farouk was just going on about arses again like he was on that promo on the Titantron. It's just not the same, is it? It's just not the same without this magic.
So we go to the 24th of November, 2 weeks out now from Degeneration X in your house, and we see Austin arrive at Raw in his pickup truck. But out come the Nation of Domination. They're all in their Nation gear, but The Rock isn't. He's in double denim. He's another one that's got his ginormous wrestler fanny pack, but he's got like a gold chain, a gold bracelet, a gold Rolex. Another it's a massive stylistic difference from the rest of the nation that are all in like the leather jackets and they're wrestling gear basically. There's a massive Rocky sucks chant. Michael Cole tries to have an interview, but he's just the bullied man of Raw, isn't he? Rock just steals the mic, tells him to shut up, calls him a jabroni. That's the first use of the word jabroni from The Rock, and he starts talking. He's calling himself the People's Champion, the real Intercontinental Champion, but the microphone is cutting out and the lights are flickering on and off, and Jim Ross apologizes for this as The Rock tries to carry on. He refers to himself in the third person for the duration of this promo for the first time, says The Rock is calling the shots on this one, but the Titantron doesn't agree. All of a sudden, Rocky sucks starts appearing on the Titantron in black and white text. The fans chant along before The Rock even realizes why they're doing it. There's like great heat in the building as Rock finally acknowledges, hang on, what's happening here? What's going on with these tech issues? He's fuming when he sees the Titantron. So he sends the nation, again, now suddenly his underlings, to go at the TV truck and have a look at whatever might be going on. But we realize before they make it to the truck that Steve Austin is in there, and he's the one fucking with all the technology. You can hear Austin in the face of somebody in the production truck saying, I'm calling all the shots, I'm pushing the buttons. But Rock, when you go to the airport and your beeper goes off and it says the 316, your ass belongs to Stone Cold. And Rock, you got to wonder, is it live? Or is it Memorex? And at this point, there's no lights left in the building other than a single solitary spotlight on The Rock. And as The Rock feels a beep, feels a buzz, he looks down, he grabs his pager, he looks at his pager, bug eyes, and then the camera pulls back, and we can assume it says 316 because right behind him is Stone Cold Steve Austin. The footage wasn't live, it was recorded. He batters The Rock, not with the Stone Cold Stunner, crucially. That's something they save for another time, because here come the rest of the nation that have finally realized that it wasn't live. Steve Austin goes and grabs a chair. The fans are going rabid for Austin fighting this fight on his own. Austin goes for the fight, but The Rock just runs off with the belt again, and Austin wishes Rock a happy Thanksgiving, and he said, and here's the bird for you, and he flips him off one more time before going off to put himself over on Jim Ross's headset. I remember this like it was yesterday, the live to tape thing, the idea that you were still in the period where when a wrestler appeared on the screen, it was weird that they were on the screen. Like, it still required, Tony Khan does this now to this day on Dynamite, even when it's a little bit cheesy, he's at pains to explain why a camera is even filming you. Like, too often now, we're back to the era in WWE of there's just a camera filming two people close up and they have to pretend it isn't there. Not here. Steve Austin has dragged a cameraman in to film him in the production truck with the express purpose of setting up The Rock. Why? Because every single week he's stuck in a 4-on-1. How is he going to drag those three away? He's going to play to The Rock's ego, and the plan almost works. And just watching the beeper reveal, wrestling acting, sure, for all The Rock has ended up making some turkeys in the end, there weren't many better wrestling actors than The Rock, because when you can read a beeper through The Rock's eyes on TV as like a 12, 13-year-old, you're getting something right.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember being a 12, 13-year-old and going like, what's a beeper? I don't really understand what that's supposed to be. We weren't texting even at that point, were we? That's how old we are. But understand it in broad strokes. But this is the one. And I almost think maybe I count myself in this, but if you showed someone just a clip of this outside of the Intercontinental title on The Rock's shoulder and told them it was 1999, they believe you. It's so it's so iconic in that way that the later stuff is. That it's unbelievable that it's coming this early in their feud in 1997. Because again, that the bug-eyed reaction of The Rock to it's proper that's the Rock character that we all know
spotlight
in the years
Austin emerging out the dark. It's so well shot, isn't it? So well produced.
That's so Austin, but so is all the stuff Austin fooling around in the production truck, Austin finding ways to break the show in ways that aren't having wrestling matches and do promos. Austin going on adventures is also synonymous with all of the great times that are to come. But again, it's in 1997. It's all very, very early days with Rock at this level as well. If Steve was in any doubt the year after, I'm shocked, because you'd think he'd be loving this. You'd think he'd be loving Rock's reaction to it. He'd love playing off him and love setting this whole thing up. Hopefully it was just one of those kind of trying to keep your spot type of things, because he must have recognised, we got some chemistry here, there's some magic here. All of the pieces are here. This could go on Raw in any of the peak years from here on out. It's just, it's that good.
Well, you would hear a lot of wrestlers speaking of this particular time and how the Monday Night Wars brought out a particular side, not just of the wrestlers, but of the creative forces. And that attitude and that idea of can you top this was seemingly in the air every single week. Well, asked and answered with this go-home segment the week later, just when you think they can't top this page of this beeper, these iconic shots. Fucking hell. So The Rock enters for a match against some Leon, somebody, big van, I don't know, some guy, some red guy in a mask.
Yeah. Sure it's not Jim Nidal? No, it's Leon, right. Okay,
pops up in so many of these homework segments, just taking shit kickings, isn't he, Vader? Like, Vader's here again. It's The Rock versus Vader. And it's quite funny. Him.
Feels like it was a long time ago
now. The bell rings and Rock says to Mike and says, "Whoa, just first, The Rock wants to make it clear this is a non-title match." Jim Ross is absolutely fuming about this. Incredible, right? Vader enters. Jim Ross is like plugging, there's only some tickets available in certain towns, and I think that's trying to tell you the Fed's getting hot, we're getting hot, get your tickets now because there's only a few left in so and so, and we haven't heard comment flexing a bit again, you can sort of feel it there, it's getting alive again. And then before the match even gets going, all of a sudden you just hear Back in Black by AC/DC loud playing over a speaker somewhere, and the camera goes to a side of the building that isn't even really like well aligned with the ring. Like the hard camera can't find it. They have to it all really moves around for a little bit. And you can, just like the commentators, scarcely believe what you're seeing. A pickup truck is driving into the building and it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. The crowd, as you can imagine, are going absolutely insane at this. The ones that are around the car, the people, by the way, who have to move lest they get hit by a truck, could not be happier to nearly be getting run over as this truck sort of gently wheels into the arena. You've got to remember, for context, this is the first time anything remotely like this has ever happened. The Rock looks up, he cannot believe what he sees. Sure enough, Steve Austin gets out of the truck. He stands on the back of the pickup truck, but like this gorgeous sort of shot that they capture from the ring. You basically get like a sort of Rock point of view shot, don't you? It's just shot over the Rock's shoulder where Steve Austin is in his eye line. The Rock is absolutely fuming. And the match kicks off. The Rock's really distracted, obviously trying to wrestle Vader, as Austin is stood on the truck. AC/DC keeps cutting back in. And I think what they've done is, rather than actually wire it through the building, they've put a massive speaker on the truck. Jim Ross makes some sort of reference, I think Austin must have his radio turned up. I think rather than having it stop and start every time the camera cuts to Steve, you only hear it when the cameras are actually on him, because that's the only place those mic'd cameras are near enough. So you get this amazing juxtaposition of these two people trying desperately to have a match, but to your point, Steve Austin finding this utterly euphoric way to break it, simply not allowing wrestling to happen without him there as a force of nature. This is chaos. Wrestling is so rubbish at manufacturing chaos, but this is real, unfiltered, unadulterated chaos. Austin's this is the first mention of him drinking Budweiser. Moreover, these are the first beers that Steve Austin ever drinks on television. And again, it is instantly iconic. That motherfucker cracks two little cans together and you're like, $100 gazillion made in that one single moment. Just have something in his hand. The Rock can't get anything going on Vader. People are just going berserk. You see fans running from the seats just to somehow get a little bit closer to Austin on his pickup truck. I feel like I'm understating this while I'm losing my mind, because the atmosphere in this building is incredible. The Rock, they're trying to have a wrestling match, but what's the point? The Rock does the swinging DDT. The Nation try and beat down on Vader to get some heat, in inverted commas. Like wrestling even matters now. It's an alien concept compared to whatever the fuck is going on in the war zone, right? Austin is just conducting a Rocky Sucks chant at this point. Again, it's the idea that he's finally surrendering, he's given himself to the people at long last, which is kind of appropriate because this is the first time the Rock started calling himself the people's champion. It's made all the audience say, he's not my champion, he is, and now he's letting you be his champion as well. Jim Ross is saying, "Oh man, if you think this is hot, these two are going to fight on Sunday. You got to buy this pay-per-view." And I'm like, "That's fucking 20 quid. I'll buy it now. I'll buy it again." Meanwhile, and we're going to get to this shortly, Goldust rocks up to beat up Vader. He looks a bit weird. We'll get to that. The Rock hits a suplex on Vader, hits the people's elbow, another first, again before it's called that, but he does all the sort of gesticulations that we get used to. Vader powers out at 2, but just gives up on the match. He wants to beat Goldust up. He runs after him. He loses by count out, the big idiot. Austin's truck is still playing AC/DC. Rock and Austin are literally separated by the crowd. It's the crowd, the hot, grinning ear to ear, cheering, screaming, joyously happy crowd that can't believe they are lucky enough to be in between these two men. The Rock holds up his Intercontinental title belt, and then really tellingly, I remember this from when I was a kid, Steve Austin just takes his belt off from around his waist and holds up his belt. It's like he's saying to The Rock, it's just a fucking belt, mate. This is a peacocking ceremony between the top guy and the next top guy, and I'm going to be that. JR keeps calling it a game of cat and mouse from Austin as he conducts the Rocky Sucks chants once again, because it's not like Austin runs to the ring and strikes him here. So Jim Ross is trying to get across. You know, Austin doesn't have to hit people every time. He's also smart as well. Just when you thought like there might be, he's not a 10 out of 10 in every category, he fucking is, in fact. And he'll see you at DX. Austin's got a 6-pack of beer in one hand, his physical shoot belt in the other. Never mind those in his hands. He's got the entire business in his hands. Like, this is slap the arm stuff every time you hear the bit of music. I remember watching this. I've talked on the previous housekeeping about having access to Raw in my own home for the first time. I am jumping up and down in my bedroom watching Steve Austin here. This may as well be like the first time you fell in love with the business all over again. Like, I loved rewatching this. Loved it.
1st of December 1997, mate. And like, as you noted there, all of those pieces are there. It's like you say, it's the Austin's. He's right. What he's doing, mate, he's taking a car and he's putting it in a wrestling arena. Like, it's just that doesn't belong there, but it obviously becomes an Austin thing. He's drinking beers on the job. I like, to your point, he's almost offering the beers to the fans, which I kind of appreciated as he kind of works in that direction. Added onto it, like you say, The Rock becoming The Rock, and I did have that note throwing the people's elbow there as well. It's like everything we said, about all the pieces being there in late '96 and early '97. No, the pieces are literally smacking you in the face now, aren't they? At this point, all to say though, it's funny you say that about like all of these Raws. I've got such a memory of. Don't know what I was doing on. It wouldn't be the 1st of December. It must be the 5th of December. I don't recall this. I genuinely don't recall. Especially the AC/DC playing, like, that's bizarre. That's like very. I mean, we've got no money at this point. What are we doing? Yeah. Like, I presumed like the laws. I mean, ECW were getting away with murder, weren't they? With playing songs, so I guess they could get away with it, and that's why it's playing on the speaker and not through like the Titantron or whatever. But like, I had no memory of that at all. He
saved money on the
totally
Bret contract, hasn't he? So
there you go. Yeah, he's got that 20 million to play with. But like, honestly, I might not have ever seen this. Is the first one of these two housekeepings, these segments, where no memory of it whatsoever. So unless I've just forgotten, but I feel like I'd remember. But like the AC/DC side of it's just like, that's the bit that stands out, isn't it? Just weird, bizarre, and also something you could do every moment of this segment 2 years later with the corporate Rock and Steve Austin, and you'd have the money to pay for the song as well, and it would fit perfectly. Just mad that it's happened here in December '97.
To mention Eric Bischoff again, he always used the example of Tyson and Austin, didn't he, as the week where he kind of leant in and went, ooh, I could be in trouble here, like the first time. And a little bit of that plays to what we know about, like, it plays to what we know about Eric Bischoff as a guy that likes like the stars and sees the importance of having like mainstream appeal and all that kind of thing. But do you think he was just in denial because this is the guy he fired? Like, the sort of... This has got to be the point where he's looking like, shit. Like, I shouldn't have let this one go. Like, he has to know. He has to be seeing this, and he's just himself booked something that has completely transformed the industry. He's also got to be able to acknowledge when he's seeing what happening in front of him, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And like when you say that about like Austin just being himself, that's the other note I had. Like, and he's got the beers and stuff. Like, people love bringing that up. Oh, everything's stolen. And I've said it before. A lot of the Attitude Era is stolen from ECW. But it just feels natural, doesn't it? I believe him. He was sat on his couch drinking beers, and now here's the beers as evidence. I don't think he's really trying to do budget, Sandman. It's kind of his entire thing. But people will say that about like New Jack. New Jack threw X's up, and DX stole that. It's like they didn't. They just both put their hands across each other. It's both coming. It feels more organic than maybe some of the legends would tell you.
Paul Heyman just likes his Steve Austin drank his first beer in ECW line too much, doesn't he? Like, he really likes that one. So Steve Austin and Rock Very much good to go. We'll revisit so much of what we've already discussed at Generation X in your house, and then what, like every few months for the next 2 years or something. I can't wait.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's time, Benno, to talk about the other awesome thing that we had coming off the back of Bad Blood. I feel like I just keep saying that, to be honest. The small matter of the debut of Kane. Remember that? Obviously arrived at Bad Blood. It's got to be Kane. It was Kane. Rips the door off. Finds the hard camera after a couple of attempts and tombstones his brother, The Undertaker, to gift the victory to Shawn Michaels in Hell in a Cell. So you'd think we're going full steam ahead to Kane versus The Undertaker, but there is a third man, like all great wrestling storylines, in this one, who will reveal himself as we go along. But let's start with Kane, because again, it does take us all the way back to the 6th of October, the night after Bad Blood. You get Kane coming out for the first time. The Hardy Boys are in the ring. The young Matt and Jeff, who often did like jobbing duties for the WWF, going way back to like 1994 when they were lying about their age and things like that. At this point, they're kind of in an era where you almost don't get jobbers. They were two of the familiar ones, I think that's fair to say about the Hardys. The commentators note they're supposed to be facing the Truth Commission, but oh Jesus Christ, it's Kane. The pyro isn't yet in line with the music, but all the pieces are there. They play the music, but the fire goes off. You know, it's all there. It's what you remember, but it's all just slightly in the wrong order. Like Kane comes out, easily handles the Hardy Boys, double choke slam, throws Matt out to the floor, and then press slams Jeff onto Matt, and they take an absolutely disgusting splat on that metal ramp. It won't be the only one of these in these Kane attacks as well. Paul Bearer is piss funny here, taking his victory laugh. He's like, laugh at the fat man now. The one you should be laughing at is your dead hero, The Undertaker. The proof is here. I tried to go back to him. He slapped me around. He called me a liar. He burned me. Well, let me present to you The Undertaker's little baby brother, Kane. Kane is just stood motionless next to Paul Bearer, like a monster that you can seemingly switch on and off. Look close, Undertaker. And at this point, the camera tries to find Kane's eye behind the mask, and it can't quite locate it. And then when it does, you see that Kane's got this a contact lens in, but it looks like there's no eyeball where the eye used to be. Yeah. And he says, Paul Bearer says, "This is the stop sign on your highway to eternity." There's a sign in the crowd that says "Kane lives, dead man," and Kane's spelt wrong. It says, "Start." Paul Bearer lays out the manifesto, basically, the Glenifesto. Starting with tonight, we're going to take out every wrestler one by one and destroy them until we reach you, Undertaker. That's why Kane's even here. We have you to thank. Every time you look around, you're going to see your brother behind you. Every time you close your eyes, you're going to remember that terrible night. Undertaker, welcome to your worst nightmare. And, I really want to put Paul Bearer over. We did in the run up to this, and I've missed this element of it, like with when they kind of went quiet with Kane, but instantly, and it's something I didn't really give him credit for at the time, Paul Bearer. Instantly, it's already not about Kane or it's just Bearer being a cunt, isn't it? This goes right back to just a laugh at the fat man. Like he tried to get the Undertaker's title and it didn't work. He tried to burn his face and it didn't work. He tried to sort of like indentured servitude him, didn't work. And he's like, I know what I'll fucking do. I'll unearth your brother and like psychologically torture you. Like he doesn't care about Kane, but he's now going to put on that he's the one that can look after his brother. Like you get it instantly, don't you? Like what emotional gears are at play here. And I don't think I gave that element of the story credit the first time. Bearer does such a good job here.
Like you say, we were so high on him in the early ones. Like, it blew my mind, like, how good his character acting was. And then you're right. It's like 3 months then, isn't it, where we barely got a sniff of this stuff. But, like, I've got to say as well, credit where it's due. But it's one of those things, it's so not... We're all just so used to looking at Kane, aren't we, in every incarnation, unfortunately, today. You know, that is, unfortunately, a problem too. He's campaigning for very different things these days. But, like, you take it for granted, that's just Kane. But, like, just taking a step back, like, as a character, like, they've developed this character. It's Undertaker's brother. All right, what are we going to do with him? Well, he's going to be fucking red. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make him red, and then we're going to give him a metal mask, and then we're going to put this, like you say, the eye makeup on, and we're going to give him a contact lens. And you know what? Because he's red, and because he's the Undertaker's brother, we're just going to go on about hell all the time. And guess what? There's going to be flames coming in a couple of weeks, too. Like, it all fits together. So Paul Bearer's got his red hair too. Throw that in too. Like the whole packaging of it is. We didn't say we were surprised or anything like that, but you know we lived through, didn't we? You know, other attempts at these types of gimmicks with the Undertaker and them never working. Like it shouldn't really be a surprise that this one works, Credit to Glenn himself for making it work, but like everything about it's just brilliant, isn't it? It's like shit, like fucking Chains dressed up as the Undertaker. It's just packaged superbly. It's like you say, you're interested in what is the backstory to this Kane, what is all this mythology and fire and brimstone and all that stuff around it, and you're also compelled by Bearer on the side, like. This is 10 out of 10 packaging, isn't it, for a new character? Like, and again, it's something you just don't say or think about because he was on fucking telly, wasn't he, for 30 years or whatever like that? But these early stages, so well done.
100%, yeah. Like, the idea as well that, as you say about the red and the hell of it all, it's as if, like, rather than the fact that Paul Bearer knew this secret and knew he was alive all this time, it is like he's actually brought him back from the dead, and Kane was in hell, and he's like, I'm going to lift you from the, like, and then no point, you sort of, it's one of the crucial things when you see that image of him from like the first house shows he worked with the cape on. Like, even just getting rid of that cape, just having the instincts to think that can't make telly. That somehow, as wrestling fans, the rest of this is fine, but lose that cape. And even that was the right call, wasn't it? They give him, I think one thing they get right after this as well, and it would piss people off when they would use it in the matches, but I think it's for the next, every time we see Kane now, it's like bathed in that red light. And I actually think that's more effective than, like, he beats up the Hardy Boys here with the arena lights on, and you see him in all sort of his red and black gear. I think after this, it's just like red light. So like even his skin is bathed in red. It's something that just differentiates. It's like the mood shifts when Kane's around. I think the lighting is very effective at that because it might sound like we're racing through these, but the gist is the same now. It's like just a path of rage and terror, like unearthed by Paul Bearer and Kane. The following week, we've kind of touched on this in the previous housekeeping. Flash Funk enters for his match with Shawn Michaels, but Kane absolutely destroys him, and obviously lays out Flash Funk in order for Shawn to get the easy win. You see these wrestlers each time trying to fight back against Kane, by the way, but none of them can get a shot in, or he just no-sells it. Kane, as well, it's worth noting, has an absolutely brutal-looking tombstone. I don't know if it's because Glenn just hasn't figured out how to execute it yet, but it almost feels like a character detail that his version is nastier. Like, it's almost sort of as if, like, oh, you thought The Undertaker was dangerous. Have you met his brother? And he's younger, and he's from hell. Like, it's like every aspect of The Undertaker's gimmick is suddenly under threat by a replacement.
Yeah. That's also perfect, isn't it? Just giving him Undertaker's moveset. It's literally like you created the wrestler in the game. He's Undertaker's brother. What moves does he do? Chokeslam and tombstone. Of course he does. Like, of course he does. Like, it's perfect. But you're not to skip ahead, but I guess it's actually skipping back because we talked about it earlier. You mentioned the tombstone, like the ones we talked, the Ahmed stuff earlier. Like the first one, like he basically lets him go and he lands on his head. Ahmed feels like he says something to him, like, and he must be just saying, do it again. And he does it again, and it happens again, Ahmed. And again, that's probably half the reason why Ahmed Johnson and Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't happen, because imagine trusting that fucker in the ring with brittle, no-neck Stone Cold Steve Austin. Actually, Benno Hamflett is stupid. That would never work as a WrestleMania dream match. But, like, yeah, if anything proved it, it's that, and it's him doing it to him fucking self. Crazy, I meant to mention it earlier.
Brilliant, man. Yeah, God, Austin going up for a Pearl River plunge. No thanks, mate. You're all right. We'll come up with something else.
Trust him, would you?
Yeah.
I wouldn't take a
Not
punch.
happening, that is it.
You probably should take a punch. An Irish whip feels fraught with danger if you're Stone Cold Steve Austin, doesn't it? Working with Ahmed Johnson. Christ.
What would happen? You've been in the ring before. What happens when Ahmed calls Spinebuster? How can Austin hit the ropes and say "fuck off, no chance" at the same time?
Just roll out double bird off. That would be the move, I think, Steve. Or again, do a smart. Just don't do the fucking match. Ah, well. Our dreams after laying tatters.
We haven't heard since Bad Blood from The Undertaker, but he breaks his silence on the 20th of October edition of Raw in response to these first Paul Bearer threats, basically. He's in a darkened room, and he says, "For over 20 years now, I've walked the face of the earth, covered by a dark cloud, carrying the grief of a family lost. In one moment's time, the brother I had lost forever, or so it seemed, is standing before me. As I looked into his eyes, I didn't see the love of my long-lost brother, but the hatred of a man whose mind has been poisoned. Yes, Paul, rest assured that I am living in hell. When I looked into the eyes, I saw the demon. However, you poisoned his mind. However, you spoke of your older brother. It doesn't matter. I will never fight my flesh and blood. I will never fight Kane." And then it goes to the announcers who actually agree and say, like, yeah, why would he fight his brother? Like, he's doing what his parents would have wanted him to do. But then later on that show, and I love so much that this is the specific character they use. Dude Love is entered for a match, and Paul Bearer has decided, no hard feelings, mate, but it's you. tonight. He's supposed to be wrestling the British Bulldog, but Kane's music hits, and Paul Bearer, that rat bastard, having heard the news that the Undertaker won't fight Kane, decides to pick on Mankind. Dude Love of all people. Dude Love, it's Mick Foley. He's harder than the rest. So he actually managed to send Kane to the floor. Why? Because if we're dealing with a wrestler that is just like the Undertaker, who best placed to take on a wrestler like the Undertaker than Mick Foley, which I thought was a really cool detailed touch here. It has to be him in the middle of all this, doesn't it? He's the guy that fits all of this extra stuff together. He smashes Glenn full in the head with a steel chair. To take a leaf out of Hangman Page's Twitter book, this is why he says some of the shit he says, because he takes a whopper to the head here. But Kane just completely no-sells it. Choke slams Mick Foley on that steel ramp, and another one back and head first onto that metal. You can imagine, if you've never seen this bump, how Mankind wants to take this. Excuse me, how Dude Love wants to take it. It is just a sick splat. And Vince McMahon says, hell hath no fury like Kane. And that's one of like Vince's last calls on Kane, actually, funnily enough. But that takes us to the following week, where Mankind had mandible clawed Sergeant Slaughter early in the night because he demanded a match with Kane after what Kane had done to Dude Love. Jim Ross is the one tasked with interviewing Kane, who Paul Bearer agrees on his behalf to a match with Mankind at the Survivor Series. Bearer threatens Jim Ross, and they are in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so give it a few years and this will go much worse for Jim Ross. But Bearer at this point, now that he's got Kane, now that he's got his monster, Mankind is useless to him. He calls Mankind an idiot and a pebble on Kane's path to destruction. Broke my heart a little bit, that dad. You shithead. He's showing how he was happy to use him, chew him up and spit him out. How dare you say that you're living in hell, Undertaker? Your brother burned in hell's fire. You'll live in hell until you face him. Rest in peace, ashes to ashes. And that results in the segment we touched on above, where Ahmed gets the worst of Kane and Mankind gets in there to try and make the save to build to their match that they would have at the Survivor Series.
Yeah, and it is, again, if we're saying that Kane is a character where we're copying the Undertaker homework, if you're going to copy the Undertaker homework, copy the good stuff. Who give him his best year and give him his best, run. It's Foley, isn't it? Who's going to get him over? It's Foley. Like, it is, as you say, perfect as far as, like, from a kayfabe point of view, works perfectly as well. Like, say, the Pebble line and the whole Paul Bearer, like, history there as well. And obviously Vader too to come as well. But, like, I think just as a non-kayfabe point, it's like, yeah, put him in there with Mick. Mick will get this new character over. And it's a thankless job. It's almost a job you don't really necessarily remember him doing, but, like, he's doing it all the same. And that's him. I wish he wasn't, I mean, we're right in the midst of it, him speed running through the characters. I guess it doesn't harm him in the long run, but it is always, you've put it on. Who is he this week? All right, okay, we're back to that again, are we? Russo's just got a fascination, hasn't he, with flipping the characters as many times as he can, but it doesn't harm things in the long run, and if anything, it helps get this little bit of story over.
We are in the three phases of Foley era, and there'll be a lot of overlap in the next sort of post DX edition of Housekeeping. But in the meantime, Mankind, did sort of do that job for Kane at the Survivor Series, Kane's first big win, and that leads us to Raw the next night, where the Undertaker makes his first in-ring appearance since Hell in a Cell. He's taking on, surprise, surprise, Karma. We will never ever escape this match.
At least not a casket match. We'll see.
But don't worry, because just when you were going to get bored to tears one more time, here's Kane, like an actual monster you want to see him wrestle. They're on the stage while Undertaker throws Karma out to the floor. BSK work done for the night. Paul Bearer threatens the Undertaker with Kane's wrath, but he wants the Undertaker to suffer, just like Kane did. Paul Bearer is brilliant here as well. He says, you must face your brother one-on-one, no interference, no excuses, so we can prove to your leeches of the night that Kane's always been the superior brother. Undertaker's pissed off. He says, Paul, you need to shut up before I come up that ramp and rip your throat out. This isn't the place. Kane, this isn't the time. It's obvious that Paul Bearer has poisoned your mind, but somewhere behind that mask of evil is my little brother. There's good left in you, I know that. Don't come at me as an enemy. Come and stand beside me, because there's one thing that'll never happen. I'll never fight you. You're my flesh and blood, and I will not tonight or any night fight you. And if I have to destroy everybody in the WWF to prove it, I will. Paul, you'll pay for what you're doing. And Paul Bearer is like, oh, all right, then, yeah. Like, don't back down, double down. I get it. Right, you are. Well, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. And everybody that gets destroyed in this company now is going to be your fault, dead man. Undertaker does Kane does his pyro, but it goes off in the ring, so Undertaker kind of gets the shock of the flame. Bearer laughs maniacally, and Undertaker's left to ponder the prospect of the kind of the dual destruction that might take place as a result of the feud to come. There's one last Kane beatdown, and then I want to get to something that takes us off in a slightly unexpected, different direction. But we've got one last sort of Kane run-in on the 17th of November, where Kane's just looking for destruction. Sonny is in the middle of refereeing in Minnie's tag match, and Kane's music hits. And at this point, because we know the script, the announcers are just thinking, oh, no, not these guys. Come on, Kane, you can't be doing that. And seemingly just because there's nobody else there to help them, the headbangers of all people run out to help while Sonny and the Minis like sort of hide behind the announcer's desk. They smash a boombox over Kane's head, but he just completely no-sells it and hits chokeslams and tombstones to batter them instead. So they've even now realised that you can like incorporate a bit of dark fed humour in with the character as long as you're keeping on message that Kane's a shit kicker. And I think they kind of walk that tightrope quite nicely here. Like, it's quite a gamble to have a bit of a laugh with this character, but it shows how over it's already gotten that people, they know what's coming, and you can't do that to these guys, and then you get the deflection at the last minute.
And it adds to the, anything can happen mantra, as far as like the TV goes. But like, it's funny because like I've heard from a couple of listeners of like it's so funny what Benno watching you having to like through gritted teeth fucking praise the Undertaker and like enjoy Undertaker content on this show, because it is the best period of his career, and like I say, we did enjoy a lot of it. It's going to be coming to an end soon, folks, I've got to say, but we're still in the early stages of this story, and I'm still enjoying it, and I'm still enjoying the unveiling of Kane as this monster character who runs in. And to your point in that last segment, the Undertaker promo there as well, still in that zone that he was in earlier in the year that we were loving, where it's like he's trying to appeal to the real little boy Kane underneath the mask and stuff, like, you're my brother, you're my flesh and blood, I'm not going to hurt you. And the camera's freezing in on the Kane character and into his eyes. Is there something in there? Is he kind of looking at Paul Bearer like, should I listen to him, should I not? That actually pulls on my heartstrings a little bit. It's genuinely good little beat, not exactly subtle, but good little storytelling. It's Bearer, trying to coax Kane to not listen to it. And like I say, the moral stand of the Undertaker being like, no, I will not fucking fight you. I'll kill everyone else, but I won't fight you. Like, it's still the good stuff. It won't be the good stuff soon, but right now it really is.
Well, I'm enjoying Kane battering people, and we're going to get a little bit more of this because Crush is out. He's going to wrestle somebody. I'll get to who that is in a second. I'm sure it won't be a big deal. For whatever reason, I'm sure it won't be a big deal. The match with Crush doesn't go ahead. So Crush is in need of an opponent, and wouldn't you know it, here comes Kane. Out he comes. Crush gives it a go, bless him, but it's a tombstone pretty quickly, and Crush's neck looks in real trouble. Here comes the rest of the Disciples of Apocalypse, Chains, Skull, 8-Ball. JR's saying, it looks to me like Crush has sustained a bad neck injury. Gerald Briscoe's out there. He gets a choke slam. The DOA trying to get Crush out the ring. For what it's worth, this is it. We'll never see Crush in the WWF ever again. O'Brien is off to join the NWO. That's one of them. This will put the butts in the seats jump, isn't it? A bit like sort of rude way. Like, that's a big deal, that, until it very much isn't a big deal. But that's Crush gone from the Disciples of Apocalypse. Before we could even have his last match. And who, Benno, in the middle of the story that you've just very lovingly praised, Undertaker and Kane, who, out of absolutely nowhere, has wormed his way into this massive story. It is the one, the only, JEFF, JARRETT. Right, what we have here is Jeff Jarrett refusing to wrestle Crush, or as Jeff calls him, Chains. Now, we're going to explain why that is. But to do that, we need to go back in time to the 20th of October, 1997, where in the middle of the commentators, just setting up the next segment, whatever's to come on another exciting episode of WWF Monday Night Raw, one of the commentators says, looking up ahead on the ramp here, we have some company, we have a visitor. And Jeff Jarrett, in a suit, is walking to the ring. He gets in the ring, and he notes to Vince McMahon on commentary, says, I'm early. I know, Vince, you wanted to do the big intro, but I want to speak, and I want to speak now. And the fans are a bit confused. literally, what is Jeff Jarrett doing here, right? So Jeff's got the mic. He says, last week on Monday Nitro, Jeff Jarrett was declared everything but dead. Since I refused to accept Eric Bischoff's offer and re-sign with WCW, he tried to bury me. But being a coward he is, he hid behind his computer and said he'd pulled the offer off the table. The only thing you ever pulled from Jeff Jarrett, Eric Bischoff, was opportunity. And the fans kind of don't react either way. They're kind of confused. There's a few boos, there's, a bit of a hum, but they're still listening, I guess. Jeff says, since I wasn't one of your boys, you put a lid on my potential. There was never any ladder of success for me to climb. A few more boos, but not loud ones. He says, I was one of the most youngest, most talented wrestlers you had, but you let me drown in mediocrity just because my stroke wasn't strong enough. Look at who you booked me with. An ex-football player who can't even lock up, and a wife who gives new meaning to dumb blonde. That might count in about a year's time.
I was thinking that too. That's why it doesn't happen, isn't it? Yeah, 100%.
Vince said, don't sit over there and snicker and smile and cherish this sweet moment because I left the WWF for the exact same reason. Bischoff did it out of inexperience and ignorance. What were your excuses, Vince? There is an absolutely insane moment of television here where, because Jarrett has referenced Vince, the camera cuts to him. And in that moment, somebody from the crowd throws a Scream mask from the horror film Scream, and it hits the announce desk. And Jeff Jarrett is trying to get on with his promo and do his big line. Remember the gold tooth, Vince? But Vince is too interested in this mask, and he just puts it on his face. the little Scream mask. What's going on here? So Jeff sees this and is like, what the fuck's he doing? So Vince finally puts the mask down. So Jeff's doing this big bloody pipe bomb moment and he has to reset. I said, Vince, shut the fuck, Vince. Do you remember the gold tooth? Remember the country music star? You had a vision of what you wanted Double J to be. With all due respect, Vince, your vision sucked. You booked me with a crowd. I'm not paraphrasing. That's the wrong phrase entirely. I'm speaking verbatim what Jeff Jarrett says here, word for word. These are the words out of Jeff Jarrett's mouth. You put me with a clown, a drug addict, a black man who can't even speak the English language. You tried to bury me. You tried to kill me off. You couldn't get the job done. I guess because you couldn't put my dad out of business like every other promoter, you thought he'd kill his son. Well, not only did I survive, I walked out on you. Big words, big lines, still nothing from this audience, by the way. Not a single thing. Jeff carries on. Now you pay me a whole lot more money the second go around. It's actually the third Jeff, but he's counting. You need Jeff Jarrett. You need me to put people in seats, put ratings on the board. Jim Ross cuts in here, who, by the way, every time I've cut to the announce desk, Jim Ross has looked not in the slightest arsed with this Jeff Jarrett promo whatsoever. Knowing what we know, you can read a lot into Jim Ross's body language here. But after Jeff says about the ratings and the butts in the seats, JR just chimes in, I thought we were doing pretty well without him. Jeff continues, you told me to come out here and shoot. Well, I'm doing it right between your eyes. Oh, Jeff. You can take With My Baby Tonight and stick it straight up your butt. Jarrett sucks chance because he's not even had the guts to say ass. Well, we know why. He's going to reveal that in a second. So he's getting some heat, I suppose. He says, go on, try and stop me. I'll pack my bags and walk right out. But Vince, can you afford it? I don't think so. Otherwise, you haven't paid me all that money 5 days ago. So Vince is like, huh? He's saying what he thinks here, fans. And you're like, wow, Jeff Jarrett, like making waves. This is going to be big back in the locker room as long as in the next 2 or 3 minutes he doesn't incinerate his entire career. Jeff Jarrett continues. Bret Hart, best there was. You were so right with was being the key word. All your past accomplishment, all that respect runs out tonight. Shawn Michaels. I feel my chest tightening. Shawn Michaels. Physically, this guy can only wrestle once a week, and he's proud of that. You call yourself the icon that can still go. How often can you go? You run around, point at your crotch. You give your silly little hand signals to your boys in Atlanta. One day, you were WWF champion. The attraction. Now all you are is reduced because you're so broken down that you're hiding behind your infantile attitude. And you get a sweat and you're like, Jeff, call your jets, mate. You've got to go back in that locker room after this, mate. And then, and speaking of attitude, what about Steve Austin? Now, here's a guy that has lowered himself to shaving his head and coming out here every week, 10 or 15 times, saying the word ass just to get a reaction, just to get noticed. Stone Cold, you'll always be the ringmaster. What the fuck is he doing, Benno? There are absolutely enormous Austin chants at this point. And by the way, that's another thing, Stone Cold. As far as your blasphemous merchandise, Austin 316, well, that offends me. What you're doing is ripping off the Bible to put money in your pocket. Fight me, and it'll be your real judgment day. You wanted the real Jeff Jarrett? I hope your investment is going to be worth your headaches. And he thinks he's done the best mic drop ever. The fans don't give a shit. Jim Ross doesn't even seem to like it. Vince McMahon's like, well, that sure was happening on to Monday Night Raw. And what we know is the backstage just gone through the curtain. Steve Austin has eviscerated him in front of the entire locker room to such an extent that 1997, Shawn Michaels saw it and went, well, I don't even need to have a word, do I? Like, imagine that what he was like queuing up and ready to go after hearing this, and then Austin does it for him. It's like, what the fuck, man? This is madness. Absolute madness.
I'm so glad you've queued me up in that way, because like I never mind, like you say, the throwaway line he has about Ahmed Johnson in there, which is fucking awful. We're the Jeff Lovin podcast, aren't you? So I thought this was going to be hard. Like, this is fucking atrocious. This is terrible. Everything about this fucking sucks. And like, for all the praise we give it, like, oh, it's 1997 now, it's not 1996. This is the most try-hard version of so many other things we've seen done well. Not to mention the fucking kip of a mate. What is he doing? Orange shirt, white t-shirt underneath, weird plaid jacket, tied back hair. He doesn't even look like Jeff Jarrett. Like, you know in your brain it's Jeff Jarrett, but it also doesn't compute. It's not like he's walked off Nitro and here he is on Raw. He looks like a different human. He hasn't even walked off Raw 2 years ago and come out, or a year ago and come out here. Like, he looks like a different human compared to that as well. Never mind what he fucking wears once he starts wrestling as well. It's so shit. It's so boring. It's so fucking try hard, shoot promo bullshit, like you said, to no reaction. There's no spark to it. There's no real point to it either. It's just empty. It's fucking grey. It's fucking terrible. And it's Jeff Jarrett we're talking about. Like, I never want to remember this part of his career, because this is just low, isn't it? It's horrendous in every way.
Just like, can you imagine, right? I don't even know who the comparison would be. Who have we got right now? I tell you what, considering that he's been a topic of like jumping both ways, let's take Aleister Black, right? Yeah. He kind of goes between WWF and WWE and AEW here in the present day, and he goes between them quite a bit, right? And then he finally makes his grand return to the WWE. And he doesn't come out with his Aleister Black entrance and like sort of Zelina Vega and all the gimmick and what we know him as. He comes out in like jeans and you know what? Denim shorts and a t-shirt, the type I would wear for work every day. Like, Aleister Black doesn't normally wear these clothes, right? He's got his hair tied back and he doesn't speak with that like serious soft tone. He's just got like, well, I'm back in the WWE and I've got a few things to say. Roman Reigns, he's fucking shit and lazy. CM Punk's 100 years old and he can't go anymore. Cody Rhodes is a complete faker. Anyway, see you later, guys. Like, can you even imagine? You're shit. I'm the best, even though I'm 11 at worst. See you next week. It is insane business.
Remember the ringmaster? No, we don't want to, mate. Shut up.
The ringmaster. Like, so Austin apparently was just on him for like, that's my merchandise money, mate. What the fuck are you doing? I think he went lightly on him. The ringmaster. Are you do you realise that I'm pulling this wagon now, Jeff? Yeah. Like, this is not your dad's Memphis India or anything. This is like the World Wrestling Federation, and I'm at the fucking top of it, you prick. Like, if he's Shawn Michaels, imagine going for this Shawn Michaels.
Even Bret, I got confused, where we are on the timeline. I was like, no, Bret's still there. I was thinking he was gone. I was like, oh, fuck, he's still there. And he's saying that about Bret too. Like, all of it, it's just fucking crap. It's rubbish in every way. And like I say, it's counterproductive in all those ways as far as like all those big stars go. But it just ruins things for Jeff as well. Because like I say before, to me, when I first heard it, the Deborah line, I was like, oh, well, that's why Steve didn't want to work with him later. And then he starts going off on Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I was like, okay, that's definitely why Austin didn't want to work with him later. Genuinely career derailing for Jeff. Like, it probably cost him at least something regarding it. He could have been Triple H. He could have had that main event WWE run, or at least an upper mid mid-card run. Doesn't happen, does it? And I think it's all rooted in this just terrible, and again, very clearly Vince Russo-pilled idea, because the best mates, aren't they? And it's like, hey, Jeff, come back and shoot and say whatever you want about the other side. That'll get ratings. And it's just, he set his fucking mate up. But Jeff should be smarter. Jeff should see this for what it is, and also should get a better fucking suit and better ring gear, but we'll get there.
And maybe because it's this podcast and this is what we do on this podcast is praise Jeff Jarrett. Maybe I'm going to try and get this all the way back around to finding something to praise about this with Jeff. I actually believe him. So either he's a good actor and he doesn't think any of this is going to work, but he's actually he's going along with it because he wants to follow the or he actually thinks, no, this is the kind of the temperature of the industry now. We've all got to be badasses. And if you remember in '98, and we'll get there, Jeff had a lot of goals at being a badass. Took a lot of stuff before the Jeff Jarrett that we kind of came to know of the Attitude Era really stuck. And I think this is just his first committed swing at it. And to that point, we get the next I was going to say we get the next 2 weeks. That's inaccurate because we're supposed to get back-to-back shoot interviews on Raw over the following 2 weeks where Jim Ross sits down with Jeff Jarrett. But very tellingly, we get one, and then there's actually a gap where you're supposed to get the second one, and on commentary, they're saying, we've run out of time for the second edition of Jeff Jarrett's explosive interview, and I'm thinking that's not a great sign when your tape interview's already been booted to the following week. But basically, over 2 consecutive weeks, Jim Ross sits down with Jeff Jarrett. They split it into two. JR's, it's all very pro-Fed. He's like, Jeff, you had it all. Why did you leave the WWF, the company that made you a superstar? And Jeff's saying, look, I prepared my whole life for the WWF. It was Titan Sports. It was the big time. Vince had a vision of what he wanted me to be. And it's so mad, by the way, here in the war zone, seeing clips of the New Generation. It's such a whiplash, isn't it, of seeing New Generation Jeff Jarrett.
House logo, all of it. It's just whoa, remember that?
Our old Fed, yeah. And he's talking about this. He says, look, I succeeded around here in spite of Vince McMahon. He put limitations on me. He made me the character Double J. And then JR's they're showing clips of the match against Shawn. They're saying, Benno and Hamflett gave that 5 stars, but you packed your bags and walked out on Vince McMahon and the WWF. You signed a contract with WCW, but once then, you made a shocking realization. And Jeff speaks. He says, look, at least WWF gave me an opportunity. WCW gave me no opportunity at all. And Jim Ross asks why that is. And Jeff reiterates, you got to be one of Bischoff's boys. You got to have strong enough stroke. A lot of people say that WCW is built on has-beens, but those guys have been successful. Don't get me wrong, but this is funny because it's just so Jeff. It makes all the sense in the world in his head. You put me and Shawn in that ring, and I'll put that match against anyone in the world. Japan, WCW, anywhere. And I mean, he's not wrong, is he? But there's a key element to that sentence, and he just buried him 6 foot deep last week on Raw. Yeah. Jim Ross asks the main difference between the two companies, and this is just an excuse to stick the knife in. Jeff says, well, the last time I was at a WWF arena show, it was all action, belt to belt, entertainment non-stop. WCW just don't have that. There's no excitement. It's no secret. The top, this is a very telling line with where we are here in the future. The top 6 to 8 wrestlers down there are all in their 40s. Here in the WWF, I think we only have one. And even then, he's referring to Bret, who's about to be out the door. The following week, much of the same, it carries on. Jim Ross, Jeff, explain to me, is Jeff Jarrett really worth what he's getting paid? And Jeff's, fucking hell, Jim. He's like, to be honest, Jim, I think the WWF is getting a bargain with Jeff Jarrett. They actually show clips of Jeff when he's a young wrestler here from his own personal collection. He says, look at what they've got here. I've never taken a steroid in my life. I've got no skeletons in my closet. I've got star quality. I've got looks like I've got in and out of the ring. And Benno didn't care for your suit, mate. For the WWF to get me, it's a bargain. Jim Ross asks him his goals, and he says, my lifelong goal and my immediate goal is to be the WWF champion. That was a bit sad there. He never made it. Vince might have not thought it back then when he had me the first time. He might not even think it now. But one day I will be the most respected guy to hold that belt. Oh, bless him. And JR says, well, you mentioned the WWF title. That's currently held by Bret Hart. How do you think you match up with Bret? And Jeff says, I've never beaten Bret. That was one guy I wanted to say I've beaten. Here's some highlights of a match that Benno and Hamflett reviewed on one of the first editions of Benno and Hamflett in Your House. William Shatner was there. I'm far superior in all aspects than Bret now. Bret's just the best there was. And Jim Ross goes, that's interesting. Have you got any thoughts on Survivor Series? And Bret just Jeff just strokes his chin. And he's like, I'll be surprised if Shawn doesn't win. So I think he was reading the tea leaves by then. Bit of word association. Let's fucking go. So Jim Ross goes, Bret Hart, dedicated. Nation of domination. Strength in numbers.
Strength in numbers. That's not a word.
Dude love, Mankind, Cactus Jack, Mick Foley. Respect for the guy. Randy Savage, hardest working wrestler I've ever known. The Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal. Raw ability. Eric Bischoff, right place, right time, right wallet. Hulk Hogan, charisma and intelligence equals success. He's liking the smell of his own farts too much here, Jeff, isn't he? Shawn Michaels, phenomenal athlete. Triple H, tag along, straight in there. Love it. Where's the line, folks?
Nailed it.
China. And he kind of goes, and before he can even say anything about China and probably get himself in a heap more trouble, JR kind of cuts across. Like, Shawn Michaels, like, do his juvenile acts just annoy you? And he's like, you know what? As long as he doesn't do it around me, doesn't annoy me at all. He's clearly a man who's frustrated in his life, and this is how he's venting. He does his juvenile acts, and he knows he can go out there and still be the greatest today. And it's like, that's kind of a wrap on Shawn at this point, isn't it, in 1997? And there's your build to the first Jeff Jarrett match, which was going to be against Chains, which didn't happen because the WWF didn't keep their promises about his locker room. That's why he didn't come out. That's why Kane stepped in and fought Crush, despite the fact that Jeff called him Chains in like 3 separate promos. So Jeff Jarrett is now playing this guy, this star figure who wants only the best treatment, the red carpet. So 1 week after Kane has chased Crush out of the WWF forever, Jeff Jarrett is ready to fight. Who else but Ahmed Johnson, who is in the ring waiting for Jeff Jarrett. We get a look in the flesh in the arena at the new Jeff Jarrett for the first time. He's got this big white, green, and orange jacket on. To your point, he's wearing like a singlet underneath it that he would never ever suit. But the JJ insignia is the one that would stick with him pretty much for the rest of his career. That logo is the one that would stick. So they're getting, there's pieces of this that he keeps, but it's commonly known as Aztec Warrior Jeff Jarrett, isn't it? It's that like look that people can picture. But
Jeff.
Jeff's on.
Yeah, he came back to warn us.
He's on the stage. He's fuming again. He says, Ahmed, I'm not talking to you. Jim Ross, I'm talking to you. How many times is the WWF going to drop the ball? If you guys don't know how to promote a star like me, then I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands. Jim Ross is he sounds legitimately pissed off that they've even re-signed Jeff Jarrett on commentary. Jeff Jarrett is saying, last week, not one of my contract stipulations was met. Now this week, Ahmed Johnson, he was one of the reasons I left in the first place. Ahmed, you water-retaining idiot. Nobody for 1 minute thinks you're on my level. I'm not wrestling tonight, and you can tell Vince McMahon that yourselves. Ahmed calls him a chicken shit. Sergeant Slaughter rocks up, gets in Jeff Jarrett's face. He says, you know what? I've listened to what you've said. I've actually reviewed your contract, and you're right. We haven't given you everything you needed, and tonight you won't have to wrestle. But you are going to wrestle this Sunday on pay-per-view at Degeneration X in your house. I found the star quality opponent. Now, I will say you've got to wrestle, otherwise you'll get suspended. But I've got your man. And Jarrett's actually excited. He's pretty chuffed with this. And Slaughter says, before I go, I'll give you some time to prepare for who your top-notch star opponent is. And then in his best Teddy Long, but for the first time ever, you're going to go one-on-one with The Undertaker. Massive pop. Legitimately, Jeff's first good moment since coming back. Proper pro wrestling, cheesy Memphis acting here. He absolutely shits himself. Really sells it. Really gets it over the line. Like, oh God, what have I done? I've got The Undertaker. And again, it's just that really nice way. You can't have Kane versus The Undertaker. You haven't got anybody else that would like logically wrestle Kane other than a psycho like Mankind. So now you put The Undertaker back in the ring, and it's right when Jeff Jarrett's been mouthing off and needs a star. Like, unexpectedly, really nicely slotted together this.
Yeah, for everything I hate about all of this, and most of it, you've just recapped there, especially the sit down, shoot promos. There is still there's still a little bit of the magic left. Jeff's getting injected back into the In Your House universe. Like, it feels right. Jeff having it in you could imagine a better version of Jeff 2 years ago being forced to face The Undertaker at In Your House. Sounds great, doesn't it? This less so, and we'll get into it. But still, it's nice to see him in the mix, and it's a good way to get him there. And that's just fast track moving on from this shoot character, but we do.
We're gonna move away from Jeff, but we're gonna move towards somebody that knows Jeff very well. They might also do a bit of shooting cowboy to get his career back on track, because we pick up not Benno on Monday Night Raw, but on Shotgun Saturday night. Thankfully, what I think will be the last ever appearance on this podcast of the fucking Honky Tonk Man, as he leads Rockabilly out to the ring for his match against Flash Funk. It's worth noting on commentary, Jim Ross and Jim Cornette burying every single other cage match, because Hell in a Cell happened the few nights ago, and it's everybody's on message to talk about how shit WCW's cage match was and how there'll never be as good a cage match as Shawn and Undertaker. Again, where's the lie? They're talking about Billy Gunn's athleticism, but it's Flash Funk the one that's getting over. They also mentioned that Legion of Doom happened to have a title match against the Godwins. It's win or retire, because they've gone on record as saying they don't want to be thought of as dinosaurs. If they can't win the belts, then they'll leave the WWF. Just an interesting thing that happens to be noted while we're getting this specific match. Rockabilly loses again. It's the same finish that broke up the Road Dogg and Jeff Jarrett, where Honky Tonk Man sweeps the leg, but he sweeps the wrong leg. He trips Billy. I love that as a little callback, considering what this is all to set up. Rockabilly's lost. He's absolutely fuming. But who's that on the ramp? It's the real Double J, Jesse James. But he's got a microphone in hand, and he's saying, "Hold up, Willie Will." And he turns around to show everybody his gear, and he's got Road Dogg printed on the back of his top. And he says, "The Road Dogg is back in the pound. I've seen it time and time again." He gets into the ring. He says, "This old decrepit freak," and he points at the Honky Tonk Man and actually gets a few cheers for it. And he stops the crowd and says, "Look, that's not what I came for. I came for you, Billy Gunn. Me and you, we've been curtain jerkers counting the lights. Do you like that every week? No, but you do it because of this old piece of petrified wrestler." Another pop. Great line. Love it. Loving these fossils getting both barrels here. Believe me, Billy, I took one loser at the Intercontinental title, and right now you might be a loser, but me and you together, I smell money. Honky takes the mic before Billy Gunn can answer, and he calls Road Dogg Road Hog, calls him a loser, notes that Billy and him, he knows that they've been riding together lately and they've been chatting to each other, and he knows what the whispers that have been going on between these two, but he says, "Get lost, Road Dogg. I know what Billy Gunn thinks about this." And then as Road Dogg goes to leave, Honky appears to swing his guitar at him, but Billy Gunn takes it and smashes the Honky Tonk Man in the head with the guitar. Billy Gunn, perennial loser, does this ridiculous dance on the spot and says, "If that don't answer your question, I don't know what will." So even already he's fucked it up trying to be cool. But nonetheless, they get a big pop because and Jeff would realize this, who doesn't pop at a guitar shot, right? So Road Dogg's little sales pitch has worked, and he's going to team with Billy Gunn. And to that point, the following week on Shotgun Saturday night, Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg debut together for the first time against the new Blackjacks. With My Baby Tonight starts on the entrance theme for the real Double J, Jesse James, but the Road Dogg cuts it off. Road Dogg calls him badass Billy Gunn, calls himself Road Dogg Jesse James, says, "Topeka, are you with me?" And then he kind of laughs when a few of them cheer. He says, "TV Land, you saw what we did to Honky Tonk, but that was step one for the Dog and the Badass. The new Blackjacks are just step two." Road Dogg at this point, he's changed his gear a little bit. The country music shirt has gone. He's in all black. He's got like a collar up to the neck. He's kind of dressed like Christian Cage does in AEW. But that's just because he hasn't got like new gear at the moment. They're that fresh to this. It's the Blackjacks, so naturally Bradshaw and Wyndham don't give him a fucking thing. But luckily, Dogg and Gunn are good enough to just be complete stooges. Billy manages to sort of like, counter a few things by Bradshaw, but he looks totally beaten. Every time Road Dogg tags in, he just gets knocked all over the shop by Bradshaw and Wyndham. They're saving each other. They're no good, but they're saving each other from getting pinned, and that's kind of all they got. Jim Ross on commentary even says as much. He says they just don't look like they can put it together. But each time you see them countering the pins and breaking it up. And then just when sort of Billy gets one tiny advantage on Bradshaw, Road Dogg slides to the floor and holds down Bradshaw's leg in the same way Bobby Heenan did to the Ultimate Warrior against Rick Rude. So he's pulling him right down, and Billy is half knocked out, but he's only gone and done it. They've actually got the pin over the new Blackjacks. They slide to the floor as the Road Dogg. They're both looking absolutely knackered, but he's like, number one on the streak. And if you thought that was good, just wait for Monday night. And just the sheer arrogance at the fact that they've like completely stolen a banana skin win. It's kind of like something pretty charming about here, and you don't want to be that sort of like, and straight away you could see they were going to make money. You wouldn't necessarily say that, but the act, at very least, bare minimum, a couple of losers like that need each other to even buy a win, that already makes a germ of sense, doesn't it?
Definitely, and like, you know, even going back to like the opening promo there, where like Road Dogg's trying to call Billy Willy Willy, isn't he? And then Honky Tonk repeats that and copies that. Oh, he really needs to get away from you, mate. Let's just leave this in the past. Like even that, like, is a distillation of like the difference between how the presentation is going to be. But like, it is something that like it'd be easy, like you say, to go back and say, oh yeah, this was always going to work. No, it's something that. It seemed clear it wasn't going to work. These two jobbers who've both got, like, music, dancing fucking gimmicks are going to be a tag team now. How shit's that going to be? But I do remember, like, watching it and going, like, you know, you go to, like, this first match and they're together and this odd couple of jobbers working a tag team match and, you know, cheating to win and whatever. But even, like, I remember that distinctly, like, first time I heard of a streak. Like, oh, yeah, that's number one. Like, very clearly there's a plan here. And then I'm like, okay, well, I want to see if they put two together. And then what if they put three together? Like, even though the baddies, and even though actually that helps as far as investment goes, as a character point of view, I'm invested in where that's going. And it really is. It's not like it's magic right away. This really is, we're going to get to it, something from absolutely nothing. Because you couldn't get more nothing than these two, could you, at the start? But, like, it's amazing to see it happen, absolutely, as we go through these.
Yeah, there must be a 1,000 jobbers that have like looked at this and wished it could be them. You know, like the ones that sort of, even now would be like, well, this is what you do, isn't it? You just find another guy that's also losing, then you win 8 matches in a row. What's the? It's as if there's no secret code to all the millions of things that need to work out right. Because they get their Raw debut, which Road Dogg talked about. To your point, like they kind of, if you imagine that there are rankings, the only thing that Road Dogg and like Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg, they're at the bottom, so the only way is up, right? And this is kind of where it kicks off for them. And they don't know how to do it, but all they know what they need to do is to win. So they're fighting the headbangers, and Road Dogg continues to refine the entrance. At this point, the music is completely gone. He cuts off the ring announcer and says, why don't you shut your hole and allow me to do the announcing? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, allow me to bring to you the original badass of the World Wrestling Federation, Badass Billy Gunn. Allow me to introduce myself. For those who don't know, you better call somebody. It's the Road Dogg. We're here to make a stand, and we ain't shaking hands. This is where our journey starts. We're going to win the tag team title belts, and if you didn't know that, you better page somebody. A lot of pages and beepers in 1997. Phil.
Almost.
So again, it's all buried, isn't it? It's like when we were seeing Austin putting it together. It's all like every little bit is here. It's just got to fucking mix it around a little bit. Billy has now got these new blue trunks with these patterns on that match Road Dogg's little jacket. So again, in the head canon, it's like, should we go out and just get some fucking clothes made together? So we like, if we dress for the role, maybe we'll get the role. You know, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. All that kind of stuff. They're having the match. Jim Ross like just sees him like just arsing around and stuff, and he's like, I don't know, man. These are like uncreative and pathetic. Billy Gunn's doing his muscle poses, and JR's like, yeah, I see it. Very good, very good. The commentators almost like don't want to give them credit because they're just a couple of, to use a Rossism, they're just a couple of yahoos. But like by hook or by crook, they're getting it done. The headbangers, though, take the advantage. So then Billy just goes to the floor and just smashes Thrasher in the face with a boombox. The boombox goes absolutely everywhere, but Road Dogg's in there to get the cover. Before the referee can move all this shit out of his way, he counts the 1, 2, 3 first. And Road Dogg and Billy Gunn have only gone and got another win. Not great here. They go to the announce tables because that's what you do in 1997 is you scream at the commentators to get over. Vince McMahon is still sat there. Road Dogg says, take your glasses off, Vince, or I'll smash them off your damn face, you little freak. He points to Vince. He goes, you're a freak. He points to Jim Ross and goes, you're a freak. And then he calls Jerry Lawler an entirely different F word, completely out of pocket. But like, there's boos, there's whatever. Road Dogg, one last like look, this really like sort of snarling, sneering look at Vince McMahon. He says, at least we're getting a freaking chance now, right? And then it cuts to Thrasher in the ring, and they've left him bloody. You know, they've left a bit of an impact. Next week, same again. It's the new Blackjacks. The match isn't up to much, but it's all about everything else that's occurring around it. Road Dogg, once again, just doesn't want to give the crowd anything. In his intro, he's like, Tulsa and the whole free world, you don't deserve it, but you're about to get it anyway. The baddest ass in wrestling, Billy Gunn, and the Road Dogg, Jesse James. We're going to move one more step up that ladder on the rung of success, and we ain't stopping until we strap some belts around our waist. This is that match you were on about where Vince promotes Hogan versus The Undertaker on the Survivor Series special. He says, don't worry, that was Hulk in his prime. It's not one of his bad films or his geriatric low-impact aerobic steel cage match. It's like...
You're contractually mandated to be still be burial. Sorted.
You cheeky bastards. He'd only put the world title on him 6 years later, but whatever. The Blackjacks once again are winning easily, but Billy Gunn just, again, opportunistic, slides to the floor, smashes Bradshaw with a chair. They stack up and they get the pin. And now here come the Godwins, right as when the Blackjacks are going to get the revenge. Here come the Godwins, because it's going to be the Godwins, Billy Gunn and Road Dogg versus the Blackjacks. And the Headbangers at the Survivor Series. The Headbangers arrive with the taped up boombox. And then notably, the Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, rather than helping the Godwins, just steal the Blackjacks' hats and poke holes through them and nick them and wear them and look like complete arseholes. They don't even try to help the Godwins. That's not our problem. We've got what we want, and they bail completely. Just before we move on here as well, while the Hogan Burial Tour is on the go, there's a fan in the crowd wearing a Hogan mask, holding up a sign that says, "We'll wrestle for food." And then Vince McMahon on commentary says, "Oh, God, I got scared there. I don't want to watch another bad movie." So they managed to get like another a free dig there. Following week, and this is a big one, it's Legion of Doom versus Los Boricuas. And now here come those yahoos, Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg. And it's very similar, if I would dare make this comparison, to Steve Austin at Bad Blood. It's not about the match. It's about what's going on at the commentary table. They're copying their own homework because it's worked. Out they come, Dog and Gun, in their stolen blackjack hats, and then they just nick off with the LOD spikes. They're irritating the commentators out there. They're doing LOD poses, but they don't care. They're just pissing about. The commentators make a point that I think this is going to be distracting all the wrestlers. And then to that point, Road Dogg tries to sweep the leg. He's meant to sweep the leg of one of the Legion of Doom, but he trips Miguel from Los Boricuas and he costs them the win. But then LOD see the spikes, so Legion of Doom and Los Boricuas join up to chase Billy Gunn and Road Dogg out the ring, and they're running away. And I'll just mention this one briefly before we get like a bit of a turning point, really. They're forced into having a match with Los Boricuas on the following edition of Raw, and the commentators are outright saying, like, this point they've got heat with the locker room. Like, it doesn't matter who's fighting with who. Everybody hates these two. And like, here they come again, Road Dogg, badass Billy Gunn, and Road Dogg just keeps saying it. We're moving up the ladder. Los Boricuas are a stepping stone for the dog, and Mr. Ass, he calls him that for the first time. Announcers mention that LOD was so fuming earlier on about trying to get the spikes back that Commissioner Slaughter had no choice but to kick him out of the arena. So it's even as if now, like, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn are kind of like getting one up on the Legion of Doom, the tag team champions. They're starting to like outwit them a little bit. Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, like they're starting to click as a tag team. You start getting a few double teams for the first time. They're getting periods of offense that they didn't have previously. And like, because all four of them are heels, not a lot of the action is particularly over until Billy Gunn like cheats behind the ref's back, and then a knocked out Road Dogg gets another win. There's still no music. It's yet another cheap win, and the fans are just really angry. All they've done is beat the Boricuas, but because of the nature of which they've done it, they're getting pissed off. It's like, hang on, are these becoming a problem? Like, it's you really feel like a swell starting to happen, don't you?
It's all very DIY too, isn't it? It goes back to that old adage. Kevin Owens said it, didn't he, when he met Steve Austin? He was like, "Get your advice," and Steve was like, "Just talk more shit," and that's like his key to success. Like, it's like somebody's told Road Dogg that. Like, it is. It's like, we're not gonna. Obviously, the music comes in a little while, but we'll get to that. But like, not going to have music, we're just going to talk. I'm going to talk shit on the mic all the way down, and I'm just going to say stuff like you said earlier. Your ass better call someone, your ass better page someone. I don't know, I'll work it out as I'm going. He's badass Billy Gunn, I guess that's Mr. Ass. He's just fucking just going off the top of the dome, isn't he? Coming up with this stuff as it goes and working it out. And that is their entire act here. Like I say, they've come from literal nothing. And yes, you know, watching it now as an adult, they're getting a bit of a help from the book, and very obviously. But like, they are putting it together. It's like, they're basically talking shit, they're cheating, they're stealing stuff. It's all very DX, actually, in a lot of ways. And, you know, we'll get to that, obviously, the early next year. But like, there's a bit of magic there, isn't there? They're actually a little bit, dare I say, for the two biggest geeks on the roster, kind of becoming kind of cool. Because I remember thinking, they were like starting to think, hang on, are these two cool? Are these two funny? Are they messing around with the old men, the LOD? Oh, look at them with the fucking... And again, it's very Shawn and Hunter wearing like the pads and stuff like that. But it's all being pulled together. You can see it happening week by week. It's fascinating. I'm going to say, young wrestlers, watch the Road Dogg, then you'll figure it out. But like, there's something here, isn't there, of taking advantage of two nothing wrestlers actually, at least one of them, Billy's just along for the ride, really, isn't he? But like getting it and understanding it and doing it at the exact right time you would want to get over in this universe. It's now, isn't it?
100%. My memory of this is so vivid, and they talk about like the Attitude Era and about how there's something to be said for capturing not necessarily a lot of new fans initially, but just giving the fans that loved your show back in 1990 something they love now 7 years later. The Outlaws, to me, and they're not even called that yet, but Road Dogg and Billy Gunn are kind of like an acknowledgement that the world has changed. Maybe more than every other character, because Shawn was a rocker back in 1990. Bret Hart was in the Hart Foundation in 1990. The rest of the crew are on WCW Nitro right now as part of the NWO. These are brand spanking new little tossers, right? But like we've gone, to use just us two as an example, like we're like 12 and 13-year-old little tossers, and they're like swearing and getting up to hijinks and getting away with it. And it's the bit when they run off from the LOD and the Bariquas that I remember vividly being like, that's pretty funny, that, like that, like a guilty laugh, like you little pricks. And then it's this was like lethal for so many wrestlers, wasn't it? But like the very split, you can see sometimes why wrestlers are paranoid, because the very split second that they even mention that like the Legion of Doom might be like a little bit on the older side, you're like, fucking fossils. Like you never thought about the LOD being a bit older than some of the guys that you're watching. And again, Hawk and Animal, like we're talking late 30s, but this is how your perception is reality, isn't it, in wrestling? And all of a sudden, like, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn may as well be like two 19-year-olds for all the age gap between them and like Hawk and Animal. And to that point, they have a bunkhouse brawl with Bradshaw, and it's a 2-on-1 because Wyndham's injured. Again, they get almost nothing, but it doesn't matter. You can it reeks of politics where Bradshaw's like, well, I'm going to kick your fucking ass the entire time, but then they still pin him and they still run out with the winners, and it's the Outlaws that the fans are interested in. Again, the following week, they're fighting Los Bariquas. They've stolen their clothes. It's what they do. They get under people's skin and they nick the stuff, but it's like that's the stuff that's actually connecting, and they win. And what happens when they beat the Bariquas after once again beating the Blackjacks? It's happened. They've done it. The commentators announce they're going to go to Generation X in your house to fight the Legion of Doom for the tag titles. We can't fucking believe it either, but you've witnessed how this has happened. You can question their methods, you can question their ability, but you can't question the numbers. They have just simply moved up the league table, putting wins together while nobody was noticing, and all of a sudden Sunderland are in Europe. Like, it's like nobody can quite work out how it's really occurred, but it's happened. They've pissed the Legion of Doom off so much that LOD don't want to wait until DX in your house. On the 24th of November, the most over they've been since they teamed with Ahmed Johnson at WrestleMania, the Legion of Doom set the building on fire because this audience cannot wait for these two jabronis to finally get beaten. Not a single person in this building has any worries, right? They've finally got what they wanted. They're going to regret this. Now they're going to take the medicine from Hawk and Animal, the Legion of Doom. They're towering over idiot Road Dogg. They don't tower over Billy Gunn, but Billy Gunn's bouncing around like he would do, pinballing about. This idea of like, you careful what you wish for because you might just get it. And they're getting the shit beaten out of them by the Road Dogg, by the Legion of Doom. The Road Dogg's bouncing around staging from enormous LOD chants. The crowds are going nuts for this. Like, the Road Dogg's already said, we're going to grapple with the last of the dinosaurs. Like, Hawk and Animal have barely been able to hold themselves back before they finally, you actually even see Animal have to call a spot to Hawk, like, wait, not yet. Because they're desperate, like, Hawk's desperate to rush them just to get some heat back. He's not, doesn't like this. So they're just knocking them from pillar to post to pillar to post. They get a tiny advantage because Road Dogg manages to smash Hawk in the head with a tag title belt. But unlike every other week, that doesn't get the 3. That's all they've done. They've used chairs, they've used boom boxes, they've used weapons, and it's always worked. It hasn't worked on the LOD. So surely now, finally, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn are going to eat shit for all the crimes they've committed. The Animal gets the hot tag. They get in the ring. They're just bumping around for Animal. Here we go. We're going to get a nice WWF wholesome tag team title finish where the Legion of Doom finally get their revenge. You get the running power slam, but oh no, Animal shoulder blocks the referee by accident. LOD are fine. They're kicking ass anyway. They've got it all under control. Billy Gunn is set up for the Doomsday device, but once again, Road Dogg just has the wherewithal to grab a weapon. He grabs a steel chair. He hits Animal in the back with the steel chair. Hawk's fuming. He's like, you little bastard. He chases Road Dogg out of the ring, but what has he forgot to look at? The way that the Doomsday device has ended, Billy Gunn has inadvertently victory rolled Animal, and the referee's recovered, and he rolls in 1, 2, 3 new fucking champions, Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg. They look at the belts. They can scarcely believe it's happened. They bail. They absolutely peg it up the ramp. They go straight backstage into a waiting car where they speed off into the night in case the LOD can possibly catch them. And they've fucking done it. Jim Ross for the first time says, look at these two. They're like outlaws. And there's that big missing piece of the puzzle. And they've done it. Jurassic Park is closed.
And again, looking at the dates of these, 12th of October, where they team up. We are now, where are we? Like fucking 24th of November. 6 weeks later. Like, what a fucking project. Like, I've always had a bit of a soft spot for these two as a team. Like, it's the type of fan I am. It's the type of thing where you'd expect me to dismiss it when people say, oh, they're one of the greatest WWF tag teams of all time. And I would normally say, oh, where are the fucking matches? And that's maybe part of the conversation. Yeah. But, like, I've always had a soft spot for when people say that about them. I'm almost willing to accept it because I'm so impressed by this. You did an amazing job recapping it there. But this period's it. This is their Hall of Fame case. What comes next? With DX and stuff, they're a big part of the pie with that next year. But, like, fucking hell, like, look at them. Like, not to jump ahead to the next week, but when they've got the belts, they just look perfect with the belts. They've got the look down. Billy started cropping his tops off, as you mentioned. They're wearing the bandanas like the NWO and like Shawn and Hunter. And they're doing all that stuff as well. And, like I say, the crowd reactions, everything about it. It's just unbelievable, isn't it? Like, they deserve so much credit for getting themselves to this point. And the booking does. The booking was bold because, like you said there, with that reaction to LOD, in less bold times, they probably just would have put LOD over and, those that young heel team just go back to the bottom of the pile. They've actually gone with something which shouldn't work, which on site most people say wouldn't work, and they've made it work. Like, needs must, isn't it? The tag division needed this. They needed this, and oh my God, they've got a hot act coming out of it. It's just, it was so, like, captivating to watch back, but almost rewarding as well. Like, remembering it play out in real time when I was a kid and seeing it here again. Like, it's brilliant.
Well, you say that about the first week where they come out with the tag belts. It's already noted that Hawk and Animal aren't allowed in the building, which you can infer is the only reason why Dog and Gunn are brave enough to go out in the ring and do their big celebratory
that
promo.
or the Lion Cunts, one or the other, innit?
Yeah. Road Dogg's got this great line. He says, the LOD are fossils and dinosaurs. We've shipped a pair of your shoulder pads to the Smithsonian because you're wrestling history. Terrific line. They're promoting the match. Said, look, we've signed on for DX in your house. Like, you get your rematch there rather than the title match now, but don't expect to get these belts back. Billy Gunn speaks for the first time since that horrendous promo he cut next to Honky Tonk Man. He says, let's not get too cocky. We're going to have a non-title match with the Headbangers, and the only thing we're afraid of now is that we might have to break a sweat. Like, instantly, they've just, like, completely, like, ignored the fact that they've been losers their entire careers. It's now, we're the best tag team ever, in fact. But they can't have the match with the Headbangers because, and I love this, to your point about how soon this has happened. Road Dogg says, now be careful because we might use the boombox again. And he's talking about something that happened a month ago. It feels about 2 years since they hit the Headbangers with the boombox, doesn't it? Like the way in which the characters have progressed. Like, what you mean, the new generation when you attack the Headbangers? Like, you can't fathom how quick this has gone. And before they have time to think and fight the Headbangers, Hawk and Animal have snuck in a building in street clothes. No gimmick, no face paint. Like, they absolutely batter them. They run a mile back up the ramp. Again, the crowd are going nuts for Legion of Doom. Like, the offshoot of Road Dogg and Billy Gunn's rise is they've got an LOD. They've actually injected a bit of life into the LOD as well. Like, there's a match here that feels like a big deal on the pay-per-view. Animal and Hawk kind of kill the vibe a bit, really, because they kind of just get this LOD promo to end it. It's like, yeah, can't beat us fair and square, and you're going to be lucky to make it through tonight. And Hawk just goes, what a rush. And it's like, I like them too now.
Not 1988, like, lads.
Yeah, but yeah, we're set for that as part of an unexpected gem. To the point where, as we were reviewing Bad Blood in Your House, this match couldn't have even existed. The LOD weren't the tag champions to lose them, and Dog and Gunn hadn't yet even got together. It's mad.
And it's funny as well, because you mentioned there about the promo, feeling very 80s. But, like, to be honest, like, LOD coming out in street clothes is kind of cool. But it's too late, lads. Should have done this 6 months ago. Should have done this 6 weeks ago. Might have been cool then. Now it's just like, go and get out the way. Your fossils actually agree with Road Dogg and Billy there. But, like, yeah, and, like I say, all the pieces are together now. They've got the music as well. That's like I say, they got the catchphrases going. Like you said, the names there in the ether now. It's just all job done, and there's a pay-per-view match coming out of it as well, which is not something you can often say for all of the stories we rave about on these things. It's just, perfect, really perfect.
It's been amazing. There's been a lot about this period of time that has been absolutely amazing. Thank you if you're still sticking with us. There is still, with apologies to listeners and viewers, still some more Fed to go. So thank you for doing this double WrestleMania 12 Iron Man match with us. But we will get through the last couple of bits before we'll finally get to previewing DX in your house, because the hits just keep on coming. Goldust has gone mad. What we never really spoke about, obviously, following the tragic passing of Brian Pillman, is exactly how this would all shake out with the storyline that dominated Pillman's last couple of months with Goldust. Well, we saw him lose to Triple H, which was more just to feed the DX machine. But we get a promo on the 3rd of November edition of Raw. It's queued up by Jim Ross, who, interestingly, before they actually cut to the tape, you find Jim Ross absolutely fuming with Goldust. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, watch this. I can't believe what this man has done to his family and to all of his fans." And you're like, what's he done? Jesus Christ. So you cut to a very soapy chat show-like scene. I think it's supposed to look like we're at Dustin and Terry's home, but it looks like a TV set of a home. And it's Jim Ross talking with the two of them. And he's interviewing Goldust and Marlena, and straight away you can see Goldust looks pretty pissed off. He's out with the face paint. His mind's on something else, basically. Marlena says it's been really hard being away from Dakota and Dustin, but it's nice now that they can laugh again. They're having movies, they're having pizza, they're being a family. She's talking family. The camera keeps cutting to Goldust, who just looks raging. She says, isn't that right, Dustin? And you can see she taps his leg for a bit of agreement and encouragement, and he's not giving her anything. Jim Ross plows on. He says, "How's Dakota? She's in preschool now." And Terry, it's really sweet, he's like, "Don't get me started on this, JR. I'll talk about her all day." And it's just actually quite an earnest moment of Terry talking about being a mom and all that. And then Dustin just goes, "Oh God." And Terry stops dead. And what is it? And he's, "I can't do this anymore, Terry. Everything out of your mouth is sickening to me. This is really making me sick, For so long, I've lived for my father. I've lived for you. I end up crying because of him. For 25 years, he's made my life a miserable wreck." Yes, Benno, Dustin Rhodes was 28 years old here, by the way. Terry's in floods. He's like, "Look at me, damn it. 7 years I've known you. Every time I do something wrong, I've been like a puppy dog, and you scorn me. You discipline me, and I'm sick of it. You don't let me be myself. You don't know who I am. Who am I?" She hasn't a clue. She can't answer. "You have no idea who I am. You have nothing about my life. I'm sick and tired of it. I live for my dad. I've lived for you. And I'm sick and tired of that as well. Look at me, damn it." And he shouts at her. She has to look at him this time. "You think I was at home for a month playing Mr. Mom, being a good little husband and dad? That's bullshit. I was reaching, and I reached out and found someone that let me express myself to who I want to be." She's just in floods of tears now. "Look at me, damn it. Can you not look at me in my face and my eyes when I'm talking to you?" And Dustin, he's getting into character. She's like, I'm shaking right now. He says, "I watched you. I occasionally wondered what you were doing. Well, who cares? I found somebody who knows me now, who understands my insides and wants to believe in me. For a long time, I haven't loved you. I do not love you. I'm sick and tired of it." And she's through tears, why are you doing this? Why here? Why now? He says, "Because I've done everything I can do for you. Right now, I'm starting my life over, and I'm doing it. I'm not going to live for you. I'm not going to live for my father. You can take this ring, this marriage, and you can shove it up your ass, because I've had it up to here with you and your shit." It's not quite Jeff Jarrett saying "shove it up your butt," is it? She's in tears, and we fade out to Jim Ross plugging laser tag products. Anyway, 10th of November, the night after the Survivor Series, when Goldust has walked out on Vader. He's come out in the Forever Unchained Goldust face paint, his arm in a cast and all that sort of stuff. He's now in a gold smoking jacket. He's in earrings. Less than ideal face paint, because he's effectively blacked up, even though it's supposed to be the black and gold, but it's got the FU still there. Goldust calls Dusty his...
Yeah, great.
You having that one? He calls Dusty his fat-ass old dad. He calls his marriage hell. He speaks of being browbeaten by Marlena. He mentions again that he found somebody, but he doesn't want to go into any more detail. Vader walks out, and he's like, "Nobody walks out on Vader." He says, I've known you for years. I thought I knew who you were. Give me an explanation. Why did you walk out on me at Survivor Series? Goldust won't give him an answer, so Vader just power bombs him and walks out. Following week, we're supposed to have the match, but Goldust comes out in a gold nightie. He's got tights on, as in pantyhose, not wrestling tights. He's wearing gold slippers and his face paint, which I think looks pretty cool actually. It's gold and black checkerboard face paint with red around the eyes and the mouth.
He's like a pair of trainers.
The commentators are saying this is all Goldust does now. He walks out on his commitments. He walked out on his wife, his team. He's going to walk out on this match. He's selling that he's got the broken arm still, and Vader's accusing him of faking it. But Goldust has brought Gerald Briscoe out in a doctor's note to say, look, I'm not faking it. Vader tears up the letter, but while he's distracted with the letter, Goldust pulls a hammer out of his cast and smashes Vader square in the head with it. That takes us to the following week, where Goldust is now wheeled out in a wheelchair by a nurse. The nurse is in the surgical mask and the hairnet and all that sort of stuff. He's still in the FU pain. Michael Cole is tasked with interviewing on the floor, and Goldust explains that the broken hand has now spread through his body. He became a paraplegic this morning, and then as of this afternoon, his legs don't work, so he's now become a quadriplegic. He then asks Michael Cole to cross his legs and move his blanket. Goldust says, "Can you to the nurse? Can you rub the alcohol in my shoulders? That rubbing alcohol is the only thing that soothes my soul." Vader's had enough for this. He comes out again. He says, "Get out the chair now, or I'll get you out the chair." And as he goes for Goldust, does Vader, the nurse suddenly throws the rubbing alcohol in Vader's eyes. It's burning Vader's eyes. The nurse pulls back the mask, and it's Luna Vachon back in the World Wrestling Federation for the first time in 3 years? Again, it feels like 10, doesn't it? That she's come from the new generation. And Luna was the woman who was Goldust has reached out to while Marlena was with Brian Pillman. They beat the shit out of the blinded Vader. Luna's got Michael Cole's microphone and she screams, "The bitch is back!" And now we see who Goldust has left his family for. And I mean, we have no idea of the things that we're about to see with Goldust, but quite the start to the artist formerly known as Goldust here.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't go to a great place, and like the early to be honest, I found the Dustin and Terry stuff just like it felt, that we always credit them when they push the envelope and they try different things. This is very clearly, we'll do something adult. Oh yeah, you're getting divorced in real life, right? We're going to awkwardly make you sit on camera and talk about it, and we're going to make it into a drama, and it's actually very compelling because it feels real, probably because it is real, which is the gross part of it.
They're on the verge, aren't they? They're on the verge to it. Yeah,
you're just not really, But is it all worth it, really? Like, it all feels like a hand to nothing. It's all a bit... It's that bad shade of... we have good shades of grey in these shows. We have bad shades. That felt like a bad shade. Actually was on board, though, with the Luna reveal. That was very pro wrestling. Yeah. And that was, in theory, we know where it goes, but in theory, Luna with Goldust makes sense. Feels like, there's just slotting the polices in, aren't they, that they probably would have done if, because they allude to Pillman, don't they, in the couch segments, that they would have gone anyway. So it's just the way to get there. But I actually like that in principle as an idea. It's just, it gets fucking weirder before it gets anywhere good.
Yeah, we will talk about that as soon as the DX In Your House review. But there is just one more thing that I really wanted to cover with you from this specific period of Monday Night Raw. Because, it broke out into the mainstream as well as kind of like featured, I guess, as part of what was to come for the type of promos we would get on Raw. And they are from Jim Cornette. In some of the segments we've been talking about, he was actually on commentary with Jim Ross. They've jiggled around the commentary a little bit because obviously Vince McMahon has disappeared from the desk. They're trying to split the hours up, so Jerry Lawler will typically do hour 2 and Jim Cornette will do hour 1. Sometimes he does both hours. He's featuring a bit more Jim Cornette, even though he's not a manager anymore. He's not got any sort of obvious role. And for whatever reason, on the October 6th edition of Monday Night Raw, Jim Cornette is asked to talk about the state of wrestling in late 1997. And he gets going. He says, "This is Jim Cornette, and the views that I'm about to express are not necessarily those of anybody else but me, but they ought to be. As a matter of fact, they probably are. A lot of things in the wrestling world make me cranky these days, especially the way that some talent is treated, some talent is looked at, not by the promoters, but by wrestling fans as well. For example, a man like Arn Anderson just had to retire from the sport after giving it his entire life because of some injury he suffered. A guy like Nature Boy Ric Flair, who in my opinion is one of the greatest talents in the history of this business. Guys like Mankind, Cactus Jack, Dude Love, whatever you want to call him, great talents in the WWF or WCW. But who gets a lot of the attention from the wrestling fans, especially guys like the NWO, the New World Order? All of these fans who guys think they're so cool and so sweet and so funny. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the NWO is like a bunch of guys meeting out in the backyard in a clubhouse in a tree. They've got the easiest job in the world. All they have to do is go out there and be themselves. Childish, obnoxious, adolescent guys with a severe case of arrested emotional development and a fixation on trying to act macho. You got Kevin Nash, 40-year-old, trying to act like a teenager. As far as I'm concerned, the biggest no talent in the business. He's got 6 moves, no mobility, and enough timing to cover up for some of it. What he does is he goes around and manipulates. Kevin Nash had a multi-million-dollar promotional company, the WWF, push him to the moon and make him a star. And what does he do? He leaves after he gives his word he's staying. So, by the way, he's a liar too. He leaves and he goes to WCW for a big contract. Why? More on that later. You got Scott Hall. He's a good wrestler, but good is about it. He's about the best of the bunch, but he had some $1 million promotional company make him a star after you've been in the sport 10 years and hadn't put 3 asses in seats. What does he do? He goes to WCW for a big contract. Why? More on that later. And then you got a guy, 6, the 1-2-3 kid, whatever, his name's Sean Waltman, call him what you want. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the only reason he's employed is because the other guys think he's funny when he gets drunk and throws up on himself. He has a distinction, in case you haven't noticed. I mean, the only guy since this wrestling war got started that was released from a valid contract from one company to go to the other side, which shows you how valuable he is. You know why they're all employed? They're all in the spot they're in today because of Eric Bischoff, the boss of WCW. Not the NWO. Look at the credits of the pay-per-views. You can get them for free. The idiot's name is on it. He's the boss of WCW. He works at Ted Turner, and he throws a billionaire's money around just like water so he can have guys he likes to hang out with. Because even more than being a mark for his own face and his own voice, Eric Bischoff is a guy who's a big fan of hanging around studly guys with long hair and beards who smoke cigars and ride Harleys so some of that can rub off on his little pansy-ass frame. So he takes that billionaire's money and he throws it around like water to buy the guys he can hang around with, prove his Johnson is bigger than everybody else's, and that's the sole reason these NWO guys are employed. I think, me personally, it's about time the wrestling fans and the promoters, all of them in this business, start recognizing guys like Nature Boy Ric Flair, like Arn Anderson, like Cactus Jack, guys who bust their ass, who work hard, and have the ability and talent to get where they are, instead of a bunch of guys that get the spot through hanging around with the bosses sucking up. I'm Jim Cornette, and that's my opinion.
I feel like... Cornette's I almost like, you know, he's a racist and a homophobe. Like, let's get that out there. But like, and that's terrible. And you know, big valid reason why a lot of people don't listen to him. If you could possibly boil him down to his just as wrestling takes, like I think Jim Cornette's one of the better minds in wrestling. But if he tries to fucking sell you on ever again, oh, these wrestlers are breaking kayfabe, oh, these lads are exposing the business, play them these tapes back. Also play him the 30 years worth of shoot interviews that he was the pioneer of doing and his podcast. But play these back. Like, why? These stood out as a kid. Like, what is he doing? Like, it was just
what's
like,
going on?
I'm half compelled because like he's mentioning the names of NWO and people that I like on the other channel, and that's kind of weird and still fresh enough, even though it's happening all over the show at this point. But also, what's he doing? Why am I watching this boring man in a suit get really angry for some reason? Like, the quarter hours must be terrible. They must make people just be like, right, yeah, I'm actually just going to watch the NWO instead. Like, it's just such a terrible idea. But again, swing and a miss in it. The swinging for the hills, and this is one of those ones.
So he does 2 more in the middle, where in the 2 weeks subsequent to that, where he basically shoots on Phil Mushnick. You've heard this name if you're a wrestling fan because he didn't like wrestling, and the WWF made no secret of leading campaigns against him. One of them is Cornette's, where he's quoting a recent article where Mushnick's had a go at wrestling again, and Cornette takes it really personally. The problem is Cornette raises a point that Phil Mushnick makes in one of them that is an excellent point that would be said over and over again. Cornette gets really pissed off that Mushnick has mentioned Brian Pillman's death as something to sort of like use as a stick to beat pro wrestling with. But the thing is, I think Phil Mushnick's right. Phil Mushnick's line in the article that Cornette reads from in his shoot promo says, the problem is mainstream media don't look hard enough at pro wrestling. Imagine if middle-aged pro baseball players dropped dead. That would be page 1 stuff and a federal inquiry will be launched. Where's the lie? We've said this for years. Wrestling gets away with it because it's pro wrestling. But Cornette kind of spins this the other way and says, you've used the passing of my friend to make your point. Screw you, Mushnick. Freedom of speech, blah, 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 blah. And then there's a follow-up the second week that's even more pathetic, where basically Cornette takes victory laps on behalf of the wrestling fans that, like, went on the forum and like criticized Phil Mushnick. It sounds so like back then it must have sounded really futuristic that people had gone on the internet on a forum and like, this one was a doctor, this one was a Christian, this one was a lawyer, and guess what? They're all wrestling fans and they all said Phil Mushnick smells of shit. Or you know, like like that was them taking a victory lap. But you know, whatever. He says this is what's great about America. That's you can voice your opinion, and that's my opinion too. So he's had this 2-week little diatribe thing on Phil Mushnick. And then there's one more that he does on the October 27th one, which again kind of feeds into a lot of the television we were talking about in last month's Housekeeping. And I'll dictate again. Get your thoughts at the end. I'm Jim Cornette, and I'm just wondering if any of you are as sick and tired as I am of people who claim to be the icon of wrestling. Hogan, Piper, they claim to be the icon of wrestling. Shawn Michaels is the icon that can still go. Bret Hart would claim to be the icon if he wasn't too busy crying about being screwed by the WWF. And I guess Randy Savage is still thinking. Well, Shawn Michaels is still the single most talented wrestler in wrestling today, inside the ring. But outside, he's an adolescent, obnoxious jerk who takes his tights and go home if he doesn't get his way. Bret Hart is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, but if he'd been screwed as many times does he claim he'd have struck oil by now? Randy Savage, yes, he is a legend, but yes, let's face it, how many records did Frank Sinatra sell last year? But the pinnacle of this icon garbage came last night in the cage match between Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper to determine in their minds who the real icon is. How does WCW have the gall to say this is the greatest cage match in history when it was only the greatest in 3 weeks since Hell in a Cell? Here you've got a 46-year-old. You've got a 46-year-old bald movie star wannabe who looks like Uncle Creepy with a good build, taking on a guy with an artificial hip who hasn't wrestled a full schedule in 10 years. It's a tribute to the massive egotism in my mind of both men, an indictment of WCW's promotional policies that this match even took place, much less being the main event when the card was probably the best WCW is capable of having. At the 10-minute mark, they were both sucking wind so bad the first 3 rows passed out from oxygen deprivation. Would have been funny if it wasn't so sad. Well, I'm sick and tired of hearing guys claim it to be the icon when it usually comes from guys who didn't know when to quit. Roddy Piper was my idol when I was a teenager, but that was 20 years ago. Hulk Hogan during his best days was 50% media created, and those days are long gone. That match was a slap in the face to every wrestler who takes pride in his profession. In my mind, no one is bigger than this sport. But if there is an icon, it would be a man who has great ability inside the ring and professionalism and maturity outside of it. Let's leave all this petty backstabbing, I make more money than you BS with a hat check girl and concentrate on talent and attitude. The Undertaker, Ric Flair, and Steve Austin have never claimed to be icons, which means they're pretty big candidates to be just that. And on a personal note to Hulk Hogan, you may be a household word, but so is garbage, and it stinks when it gets old too. I'm Jim Cornette, and that's my opinion. I mean, he knows his way around words, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. He's a rent-a-mouth, isn't he? As proven by this, because he's fighting Vince's battles against Phil Mushnick more than anything. And I know he said before he regrets some of those comments in there as well. But, like, if you want to rent-a-mouth, like, Cornette's a good one. It's funny because, like, he's also, like, been all over the commentary, hasn't he, across these, like, ones we've been covering housekeeping. And he's one, I really enjoy him when he's on commentary, but 1 week's enough, innit? When he fills in, that's enough. Don't need him every week. He's just too much. And this is the point where I think he gets too much, where he's allowed to go out there and be that rent-a-mouth. And he's just desperate for material by the end of it, isn't it? This last one where it's just, the icon stuff and, but building on the WWF Age in the Cage stuff that we've heard loads of times before. It's just, but he's fighting Vince's battles for him, isn't he? And in fairness, in that last one, like you say, weaving in a bit of kayfabe, Sean, you're the greatest wrestler, but you're then, a dickhead, on screen and off screen, actually, so it's kayfabe and reality both at the same time. But he's clearly trying to build something more, isn't he, as far as, like, what's on screen and not just wildly shooting and pretend that he's on a message board, but still fucking weird creative choice.
Really, really odd. And I think what I think it's great in the sum of its parts in a sense, because I'm with you. I think like all of these can be just picked at, and it's there to encourage like tribalism, and which is very important to the WWF now. They've basically changed the rules, haven't they? We never mentioned WCW. Now we mention them loads as long as we're giving them a shoe-in. That's like the new rule, isn't it? And you can feel it throughout the product. But I quite like that it's so scattershot and unfocused, but that is sort of where this podcast started was the mention of the Attitude trailer, and that's kind of the idea, isn't it? I don't think the Road Dogg and Billy Gunn get their push and it works if you kind of just not hoying shit around. So why not hoy this shit around and see if anything sticks? It doesn't. Yeah. But I think there's so much stuff like this, like Goldust, that that's not hit the way you wanted it to, but your hit rate lately has been pretty great. So why not swing there and why not swing there? That mindset is no, this is it. Like, better that than some of the places we were at, I think, 2 years earlier.
Yeah, the business might be built on in 20 years on shoot promos, They don't know. They're thinking, well, that's something that's getting over on the internet, so let's try it on our program. People buy these DVDs from RF Video. Well, let's just get Jim to do it on the telly instead. Like, I can see the thinking, even if, this one is a bit of a mess.
Well, Benno, this has been its own odyssey through these 2 quite remarkable months of October and November and into December of 1997. The whole world changed. And speaking of the world changing, we thought we'd end this very sort of Bret and Shawn-centric period of the World Wrestling Federation, and indeed end our time with Bret the Hitman Hart and Benno Hamflett with a bit of a classic. We do our 5-star review when we can fit them in on Benno and Hamflett, when the housekeeping isn't too long and arduous that we want people to actually get on with their lives. But in this case, we really wanted to put this one in here. We got a request from Matteo, it might be Matteo, thank you very much for the request, who asked very kindly in a lovely review that he did, that you can too, by leaving us a 5-star review and putting a match request in a comment, who asked for Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. Not from the Bell Centre in Montreal, but for the Intercontinental title in a ladder match from July 21st, 1992. Big smiles on both our faces here, because different time, different stipulation, different men. but like really, really nice to watch, wasn't it? This like great request coming in. People can get their requests in as well to do a 5-star review, and we're going to talk about this now. I got this from the Vaults upload of the Smack and Whack'em video, by the way, just out of sheer nostalgia, because I remember the cover of Smack and Whack'em and Bret like on a ladder kicking down at Shawn, and seeing that video cover and thinking, I need to see this.
What's this?
What the hell is that red ladder doing in the ring? Like, long before I'd actually seen this match, the image of it was already striking in my head. That's when you know a gimmick's going to work, don't you?
Oh, definitely. I don't think, again, that's a video that's like high in regard by most people. It was just one I'd never owned. So like I hear people talking about it, and maybe we'll review it on Grapple as a full one at some point. But like, I don't think I'd seen this match before. So I was made up when this request came through, because maybe I've seen bits of it. Maybe it's on other VHSs or something like that. But like, yeah, like a ladder match this earlier in WWF where even the commentators know what's going on. And also a Bret Vs Shawn match that isn't the Iron Man match, that isn't Survivor Series, like feels perfect to go out at the second half of this housekeeping.
Indeed. So we kickstart, as you say. Gorilla Monsoon and Alfred Hayes are on the call, and they kind of have to reiterate the rules, and even then they're going over them, and they think they know them, but we'll just have to see it play out, I guess. The belt is raised to the ceiling. There's discussion about how, well, there's not even any point climbing unless like your opponent is completely compromised, and to that point the ladder is actually set up in the aisle. So the match starts and the wrestlers have to go get the aisle. It's like sort of halfway down the aisle, so they have to go and get it. They can't just like get it from under the ring or anything like that. Bret takes over early. Shawn takes a couple of hard buckles, but he hits an uppercut and like immediately then starts going for the ladder. Shawn cuts him off and like slams Bret's face into the mat. Back in the ring, Shawn floors Bret with a knee to the chest and then goes and runs for the ladder. He's the one that drags it down, but then Bret takes back over and the ladder is now on the floor by the ring. Bret rolls Shawn into the ring and goes for it himself, but Sherry is there ringside with Shawn Michaels, of course, and tries to take the ladder off him. That distracts Bret long enough that Shawn gets the ladder into the ring and tries to climb. So Bret has to run back in the ring and pull Shawn by the tights, arse out to the floor. That gets the first big pop of the night, but for a change, it's not for Shawn's arse. Like, that's the first point that you've even had a glimpse of a wrestler climbing up, and you can tell there's like a ripple of a crowd reaction for that. Bret goes to climb for the first time because the ladder stays standing, and Shawn this time climbs up and just takes him off and then pushes down the ladder so Bret can't climb again. Shawn sort of realizes that a situation has presented itself, and he rams the ladder into the stomach of Bret Hart in the corner, but then he kind of gets a bit overexcited and he runs with it and misses and hits the steel post. Like, the ladder then rattles and it hurts him. It's left in the corner, and Bret tries to Irish whip Shawn into that ladder that's leaning in the corner, but Shawn reverses it and Bret hits that ladder hard. Shawn goes to climb the ladder, but once again, Bret's not been disposed of enough, so he pulls him down, and the ladder eventually falls back on Shawn as Shawn goes to the mat. So in so many little ways here, they're kind of revealing how the ladder can be a weapon almost accidentally. Only Shawn has used it as like a physical thing in his hand. Stuff is just happening to Shawn because the ladder fundamentally is like a dangerous bit of kit. Shawn climbs and Bret cuts off quickly, and now the fans realize that this is actually a bit of a climbing contest, and they're getting more and more excited with every little like step that the wrestlers take. Shawn decides to position it in the corner and again goes for the Irish whip, but this time Bret counters with the flying clothesline and grabs the legs for his slingshot catapult move that like hits the ladder and knocks Shawn out completely. Bret hits the backbreaker. He climbs the ladder, and this time he like gets his fingertips on the belt, and yet again everything here is the first time, so they may look at the fingertips on the belt. You can hear people in the crowd screaming, and Shawn is able to counter for the first time. They're both down, the ladder falls down, and then them two collide for a double down. So the ring at the moment is kind of like the war zone, sort of selling, all three of them, two wrestlers and the ladder, selling what has happened to them both over the course of this relatively short but quite violent battle. They both sort of kind of come to their feet at the same time, and then they're both climbing each side. It's at that point that the commentators mention, this is a ladder where you can climb both sides. Normally it's only one, and it's almost like nobody had noticed until this point that both men could climb at the same time. So again, they've provided you with a single version of excitement where one guy climbs, and now they're doubling it. So the fans, you really sense they can't believe what they're watching. The commentators are saying it as well. But they both fall down together. There's a few exchange fists, and down they go. All of this is really quick, by the way. If I sound like I'm rushing through the recap, there's no real slow climbing. There's no climbing for drama. This is when I am fit and healthy enough, I will shimmy up that ladder and try and win the belt. There's another brawl, and then Sherry takes Bret's leg briefly so Shawn Michaels can hit not switching music, but that patented reverse pressive kick, because that's not his finisher, is it, Benno? We all know it's the teardrop suplex, which he also hits. Not a great move, but as far as anyone's concerned, that's it. Bret is done now. He's finished. Shawn climbs, and he climbs, and he climbs, but Bret, with his last recovery, powers up and drop kicks not Shawn because he's too high up, but the ladder. Shawn Michaels spills all the way from the middle of the ring to the floor. A huge bump for 1992, this. And with him finally out the way, Bret goes high, just high enough on the ladder, goes that extra rung that he wasn't able to reach before Shawn can get back in. He pulls the belt down, and we're out of here. 14 and a half minutes, not an ounce of fat. Benno, I'm once again asking, did it used to be better?
I think Bret and Shawn used to be better. I think we've learned that over these last couple of housekeepings. But like, it's just so it's an innocent time to watch in all regards. It's like one, like you mentioned, the rudimentary kind of use of the ladder, where it just kind of, it's a physical object that happens to be between them. And like you say, paging every Brit Res promoter, you can get ladders with two sides. That was always a struggle in the 2000 indies as well in getting good ladders going. But like, you have to discovering that as they go. They're discovering that the ladder might just fall on me. Oh great! It's there in the corner. I guess we can use that for a whip. Like, I'm sure they've laid most of this out or came up with ideas backstage, I suppose, more in the style of the time. But it feels like the actual physical wrestlers are learning this stuff as they go. Same as we both said, as the commentators who are like, are there rules to this? I guess there's no rules. I guess you can. And because it does build to them eventually using the ladder as a weapon, as you note. And it's like, well, I guess you can, because why wouldn't you be able to? I guess anything goes in this thing. Like, it's so, all of it's so innocent, including the crowd response to it, as you know, as well, where it's just like, imagine being a kid in that crowd going, they're going to do what? They're going to climb a ladder to win a match, and then they're going to use the ladder as a weapon, and then they're not jumping very high, but they're going to kind of jump off it, and they're going to hit each other with it. Like, you can hear like the visceral screams of the kids in the crowd, like, what am I viewing here? What is this thing? It's just, and it's the perfect two people to do it, you know, with all of the water under the bridge at this point in time in the Benno and Hamflett timeline. Like, these are, you know, I'm sure Bret would want to do this with Shawn, and Shawn would have wanted to do this with Bret for the first time. It's just perfect.
And then even when we've got this nice moment of what appears to be harmony between these two men, nothing ends well because Shawn nicks it and uses it with Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10, and Bret resents him for the next 2 years for that as well.
Mr. Ladder match. Yeah, of course. I've got to note as well, the teardrop suplex as well. I fucking always hated that thing. Hashtag not my Shawn, when he used to use that for. To be fair, I've been playing, there's a very late in the pod to mention it, but there's a No Mercy mod, or it's a WWF WrestleMania 2000 mod for N64. It's called Bad Blood. Perfect for me and you, and it's literally got the 1997 WWF roster on it. Everyone's pitch perfect. You can go Ahmed, you can go what Mark Mera becomes, you can go everyone we've talked about today. And then every time I play it, I go, I'm going to go Shawn today, and you realise all his moves are shit, aren't they? He does a kick that everyone else does. He does a moonsault that a lot of other people do. He actually hasn't got any other moves, has he? For a moves guy, his moves are quite boring, especially in the video game context. It's not like playing as Rob Van Dam or playing as Kenny Omega or something like that. It's it's all very simplistic when it comes to it all, Shawn, and it was the same back here.
The reverse pressive kick. It was like it was a finisher hiding in plain sight for years, wasn't it? Before they actually just be like, what about that? People actually react to that instead of this bit where he half folds his leg and drops backwards. It's like
backdrop in it. It's so
shit, man. Rubbish. Yes, but a great match to relive and a nice way to give Bret and Shawn the fitting send-off. Pillars of the original In Your House Season 1, and so much of what we covered, including the last housekeeping, because indeed that is it for us and Bret, for now at least. If you want to get in on the action, we do it. You're the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. Nobody ever questioned that. It's just time kind of sort of moved on and everything got a bit gross. You were too perfect for this world, Bret. It's not you, it's us.
And like the Simpsons with Dr. Hibbert, Shawn, it'll happen to you. It's coming soon.
It's coming soon. And thankfully, so is the end of this podcast. Thank you very much for sticking with all of us through this. Again, I'm going to say it, this odyssey through October through to December 1997. If you want to get in on the action for the next edition of Housekeeping, and if Raw isn't too stacked and jacked, we'll do another 5-star review. Leave us a review. Anywhere you can rate podcasts, give us 5 stars, put a match request in the comments box, stick your name in there if you want as well, and we will get around to it on a future edition of Housekeeping. I'll just do a very quick rundown of the DX card, even though we have covered quite a few of the bills in the Housekeeping, and then we'll get out of here. It's going to be the Generation X in your house. Key that it is now that way around. As we have discussed in the main event, Shawn Michaels will be defending his title against newest rival since Montreal, Ken Shamrock. Steve Austin will be defending his Intercontinental title against the man that currently owns the physical belt in Rocky Maivia, a.k.a. The Rock. The Undertaker will return to action on pay-per-view for the first time since Bad Blood to take on the man that wanted a star match in Jeff Jarrett. The tag team titles will be on the line, but not in the way we first thought, as the New Age Outlaws, the new champions, now defend their tag team titles against the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal. Oh, yeah, just a small matter of an entire light heavyweight division was formed, and there was a tournament, and now there's a final where Taka Michinoku and Brian Christopher will take on each other in the final to crown who's going to be the first ever WWF light heavyweight champion. Oh, yeah, by the way, what we didn't recap, Mark Mero is back. He's a fucking boxer now, and he's taking on Butterbean in a tough man contest. And just when you thought the World Wrestling Federation was moving too fast for your own good, calm down, don't worry, let us be the arm around your shoulder, because in tag team action on the undercard, Los Boricuas take on the Disciples of Apocalypse. The more things change, the more they stay the fucking same.
I can't wait for that. I might even bust out my Butterbean impression for you, mate, on the review. You're just trying to have a good time, trying to enjoy Raw. Anyway, more of that later. Shout out to Tom Dyke from school. We used to do that to each other all day, but yeah, we'll be covering that on the next one.
Amazing. This has been class. Thank you, Benno, for sitting while I've rabbited on for so long. What a period of time this has been.
Amazing, and it's like I say, it's you put the hard work together when it comes to putting the happenings together in such a great way, and I am going to try and make more of a habit of sharing the playlists for these things that you do lovingly put together as well. But yeah, never an uphill struggle, mate. Always fun, always made up to dive into these times. Just great times.
It's incredible. It's such a joy to recap Good Fed when currently in my professional capacity, I'm reviewing shit stuff every single day. But if you want more of that, you can get it at What Culture Wrestling, where we review Raw, SmackDown, NXT, as well as AEW Dynamite. We do the pay-per-views, we do the premium live events, all the usual stuff every single week. Reviews, previews, Q&As, Dilemma-linas, all the weekly stuff on the What Culture Wrestling podcast. Just search Michael Hamflett, What Culture Wrestling on Google, all that sort of stuff. Subscribe if you don't already, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube as well, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's my usual slate. I will finally, for this month at least, shut the fuck up.
Well, on our end, we're never shutting up over on Grapple Patreon. We did the Raw Roulette episode a couple of weeks ago that I think listeners to this would enjoy, where we looked at Monday Night Raw from August 15th, 1994, episode 75, Owen Hart versus the 1-2-3 Kid. That was a great time that I think more nostalgic, older school Benno and Hamflett listeners would enjoy. And on top of that, it's World Cup kicking off this weekend, obviously. And yeah, we are doing the Grapple World Cup of Wrestlers over there, where we're going to be putting 16 of our choices versus 16 of the patrons' choices. We're going to put them into a round system, and we're going to have knockouts. We're going to vote on who wins each match. Roman Reigns isn't winning any of his matches. And then at the end of it, we're going to have a Grapple World Cup winner who will get a place in the prestigious Grapple Hall of Fame. So yeah, if you like the sound of that, find us patreon.com/grapple, youtube.com/@grapple for all our free stuff as well.
Highest recommendation for me. I'm a very proud Patreon. I guess, Benno, with all that said and with all those plugs done, now that we have Steve Austin in the room, the actual people in the buildings, I am more than happy to say thanks for the house.
Good night, Al.
Everyone get on your feet. Got another show to go. We're all together, all together, all together. Best there is, best there was, best there ever will be.